And we're live! Hey, everybody.
Yeah, you really phoned it in on that one.
Well, I thought you were gonna like interrupt me, and so halfway through I hesitated because
No, this is the serious stream.
That is true. This stream is gonna be a bit more serious than our normal streams.
So no jokes, everybody.
It's not. Yeah,
there will be nary a funny to be had.
Yeah, no fun allowed. Nah, this will be a bit more of a serious stream than we normally do. We'll get more into what specifically it's gonna be in a minute or two, I guess.
First, a word from our sponsor.
Yeah. Do you want to tease a future Twitter post since that got redeemed?
I'll tease it
before we get into it, and then we'll get into it because this stream is probably going to be mostly one topic for the whole stream. No jokes. We can't talk about Scott's rap skills. Damn.
Wow.
Get fucked.
Bro, I'll fucking freestyle on mic. Don't at me.
Skill issue.
You come at me when there's not a serious stream going on. I'll bust the freestyle. That'll be our next sub goal. I'll bust like a Black Thought-esque 8-minute freestyle. Eminem-esque as acapella. I'm real choppy with it the whole time.
Bryce probably has bars. I wish.
Here's some abs with whipped cream on them for your teaser of a Twitter post. That's going up Friday. Friday is when that's going up. So there you go.
So you wanna get into it and start explaining what the day is? You want me to lead?
Well, we could talk about. Yeah.
Okay. You sound like you had something specific you want to talk about beforehand.
Well, I was gonna make a joke and talk about the thing with the show, but nobody else would even understand what I'm talking about.
We'll hemorrhage viewers if you do that. Yeah. So today, Scott and I were talking last night. And we kind of came up with this idea on the spot and had to do a fair bit of planning and figuring out for it. But we realized that we've never really actually done to bring back an old trend, like not that this is going to be this, but like a Draw My Life kind of gimmick, but with our careers, where we talk and explain more about who we are personally, what our career has been from start to finish. So, from the moment we started making comics to where we're at now. So this stream, I don't know how long it'll be. I don't know what all it'll be, but basically it's going to be us running through every part of our careers, talking about not every project we've worked on, but all the impactful ones. Talking about, it's going to be, the reason we say more serious is there's going to be talk of mental health stuff. There's going to be talk of, just like a lot of stuff like that. There's going to be a lot of personal stuff we talk about along with it. Breakups, things of that nature. So, not that we can't have fun and can't be joking around. We don't, not like that. But just that, so people know it will be a bit more of a serious stream. But yeah, you got to shout out a Twitter artist, Scott.
Shout out a Twitter artist.
Shout yourself
All right.
up.
So there's this little known artist. Scott _Malin. Yeah, let me just scroll through and get you
gotta do two, so
2? Okay.
It's good. We'll get these out of the way before we dive into the actual like talking about the.
Yeah, there's been so much fan art this month that I'm just gonna go through and find people that have done fan art to promote because it's super cool. So this person, Icy Mass, did a Mia drawing. I probably should have pulled that up. Here, give me a second. Posted it about an hour ago.
I didn't see this one. That's cool.
It's very new. Yeah, I like getting Mia. I'm glad that people like Mia to the point already that they're doing fan art. That's really cool. That's real sick. Let me find another one. I'll just do Icy Mask twice. Oh, this is a cool one. This one goes way, way back. JD Benefield. This guy. He's been a follower of mine for a long, long time, and he also did some Mia fan art. That's about right here.
Yeah, I saw that one. That one's crazy.
Yeah, that one's super cool.
I love the background on it.
So I'm gonna plug his account link in there as well. So yeah, go check out those two artists, guys.
Okay, you want to dive into it properly now?
I also love the attention to detail on the shoes. But yeah, we can get right into it. From the very beginning.
Yeah, so I guess that we'll start, and we'll start by talking about, before we actually get into our careers, I feel like it's probably good to talk about a bit of where we came from, both in regards to creatively, but also just as people. And so I guess, Scott, to open it, do you want to talk about how you started drawing, like as a kid?
Well, it was a weird thing, and I think this is a story that probably a lot of people can relate to. I drew a lot as a kid, and I was encouraged to draw as a kid. And I was always like kind of good at it for my age. I mean, like I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7, a little bit older than that maybe. So like it wasn't good, but it was good for my age probably. And I remember a lot of talk of people being like, "Oh, he can be like an artist when he grows up and stuff like that." And I kind of just fell out of it at some point, for one reason or another. I mean, I got distracted with middle school stuff. I remember one of the first days of middle school, I had like a sketchbook, and I would show people my drawings, and they'd be like, "Oh, that was super cool," and that made me feel good. But just when you're in middle school and you're doing stupid shit, you just fall out of the stuff that you like to do. So it wasn't until high school really that I got back into it, which we'll touch on a little bit when we get that. But I don't know if you wanted me to go into actually drawing in high school or not.
No, we'll get to that. And I would say for me, I guess to finish your thing, what would you, when you were younger, would you say that, like when you were first starting out, would you say you had things that directly inspired you to start drawing?
Yeah, for sure. I was hugely influenced by anime early on, specifically stuff like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z. I remember that sketchbook that I just mentioned that I brought to my middle school class, that I would show people. It was like a drawing of Cell that I did that everyone really liked, and they were like, "Yo, that's sick. That's Cell from Dragon Ball Z." I'm like, "Yeah, that is Cell from Dragon Ball Z." And I spent a lot of time early on just copying the anime characters that I liked. I draw like Gaara from Naruto and stuff, and I was trying to learn how to do that. I wasn't really trying to learn anything. I was just having fun with it. Like it was kind of that stage. At least until I stopped.
Yeah, and then I would say that for me, in regards to writing, I was definitely writing when I was younger, when I was in like elementary school, early middle school, but it was never like I had any aspirations of being a writer. It was just like I'd open Notepad and type. I was more of a reader when I was younger than like a writer as a kid. And so I was directly influenced a lot by books. When I was like 10, I was reading like The Shining and It and stuff like that, which I probably shouldn't have been doing. But like a lot of Stephen King and Peter Straub and Clive Barker, a lot of horror. And that's the kind of stuff that made me want to write, and that got me writing when I was little. So a lot of stuff I wrote when I was like 10 was like really cringy, bad horror books, or stories. And then I guess that, so Scott and I always, we met in middle school. And when we first met, and for the earliest parts, like our first like 5-6 years of knowing each other, we didn't do anything creative together. We just played video games all day together and just hung out and vibed. But we always wanted to do something creative together. It definitely, once we hit like 15 or 16, it felt like it was kind of like every other month we had a new venture. It was like we would try making a YouTube channel and talking about sports. We would try we tried comic books at way before we actually started working on comic books. We did that once or twice. We also used to do this thing when Scott started drawing again in high school, where he would just send me a drawing and say, come up with a story for it. Do you remember that? When we were like 15 years old? Yeah, and I would just come up with like a 2-paragraph. Way before we ever like actually started creating anything together, we would just do stuff like that. And then, so I guess we should probably talk about because you started, like, you got into drawing in high school before I got into writing in high school. You were kind of the catalyst for the whole thing. So I guess you want to talk about what sort of spurned that reignition back on?
Well, honestly, and this may sound strange, or at least I've had some people tell me that it's strange. I really like, when you're in your sophomore year, your junior year of high school, around that time, there's a lot of conversation around what you're going to do when you get out. And I didn't really know, like, I didn't want to. I really hated school. So I think part of me would, like, the rebellious teenager part was like, oh man, I hate this so much. I don't want to do what they say. I don't want to go to college. I don't want to do like the normal job thing that, like, they have, that they sort of preach to you. I was really against that, and I was like, just honestly looking for something that I could do that I would enjoy, outside of, like, like I said, just doing some normal things. I didn't have any. I think my freshman year, I wanted to be like a state trooper for.
I do remember having that conversation with you. Yep.
Yeah, like, I wanted to do that, and then, like, at some point when I was a sophomore, I realized, like, oh, actually, I would really hate that, I think. So I started looking for things, and then I remembered when I was a kid, I would draw a lot, and I enjoyed it. So I started to pick it up again, and I still enjoyed it when I picked it up, and I was like, I bet if you give me a few years, I could do this, and I could be like a thing. And I was like, well, what do I want to do? And like Bryce said, we were kind of messing around with stories already at that point. And so we kind of just came to the conclusion that, like, we could do this story thing. Like, if we work hard enough, we can just start doing, like, comic books and do something creatively. So I guess in the short of it is that it spawned from a place of trying to not do just the normal stuff, just trying to make sure that whatever we were doing for a career was something that we enjoyed.
Yeah, especially I feel like a lot of it was also that you hated school and I was bad at school. Like, I hated school, but I was like, you were actually good in school. Like, when it came to actually
I was like an advanced student.
Like,
I got, like,
you could have gone to a nice ass
stuff.
college, whereas I was like terrible. I mean, I didn't go to school a lot, which was part of the problem. But I also just never was very good in school. Whatever the style of learning or teaching is, I guess you could say, it didn't click with me, and I never felt like I was properly learning. That's why it's like we always talk about me being mad at math, but it's like I took 12 years of math, or grades 1 through 12 of math, and it was terrible. I still barely know how to do math. And so I feel like it was a lot of, especially on my end, from a personal level, I knew, like, I wanted to be like a psychologist when I was younger and stuff like that, because I really like people, or like I really like thinking about people and why they think about things and stuff like that. But I always knew that I couldn't do that. Like, I wasn't good enough to go through school to do that kind of thing. And so for me in high school, there was always this feeling that if I had 4 years, and if I didn't find something by the end of it, I wasn't going to do anything with my life. I was going to just, like, work a 9 to 5 and probably work minimum wage and not be happy. And that was a really big fear of mine when I was younger. And so I remember there is a specific night where Scott and I's career started, which I think is a very fortunate and cool thing that we have, that I don't think a lot of people or creators have. But there's one distinct night where he had started drawing a little bit, and like I said, he'd do the thing where he would send me stuff, and I would sometimes write like a little story. But by no means were we making comics or writing or doing anything creative. This was something we would just do occasionally. Also, somebody asked how long we've known each other. At this point, it's been 13, 14 years. So we met when we were like 10.
Yeah.
But he would send me stuff like that, and we would do stuff like that. But it started on, I think it was 2014. I'm pretty sure it was 2014. It was August 25th. I remember the date very specifically in my head. It was August 25th, 2014, and it was him and a friend of ours. I'll actually say, in the chat and in Discord, we have somebody named Forklift Boys and Shroomies. It's one person. They have two different names. They're a good friend of ours that I've known even longer than Scott. I knew him when I was like little. And him and Scott actually had like a comic idea one night, and we're just like working on it, bullshitting together. And Scott messaged me, and I remember this. He was like all fucking jazzed up. He was like, "Bro, let's fucking do this." And I was just about to go to sleep, and I was like, I got really mad about it. And I was like, "No, I want to go to fucking sleep. Like, leave me the fuck alone. I don't care about this bullshit comic thing. I want to go to sleep." And I laid down to go to bed, and I couldn't fall asleep. And it's like a half hour later, I messaged him back. And it's really funny because if I hadn't done that, I thoroughly believe Scott would have forgotten the idea, and I don't know if we'd be here today. It's like one of those weird things. But then I stayed up, and we sat down, and we started making a comic that night for the first time. Just all three of us. We were all three hanging out, talking, and just plotting stuff, just coming with a ton of ideas. And that was sort of the catalyst for, like, that was the night. I wouldn't say that was the moment where we knew we wanted to make comics. I think that came a little bit later, and we'll get to that. But that was definitely the first moment where it was like anything creative we had done felt like different. Like, it was like really fun. And it was like, I remember going to bed that night thinking, I wonder if we'll talk about this tomorrow. Like, I wonder if tomorrow we'll actually be talking about this, or we'll have already forgotten and just moved on. And then I remember, like, the next day, I woke up to a message from Scott with ideas. Like, with more ideas. And I sent him ideas. And then it was, like, all day in school. I remember him and I were just texting each other back ideas instead of doing schoolwork. And so, like, that's, like, I remember that memory of, that. And then that kind of became a theme throughout the rest of high school, is us both not doing, or at least, especially me, but us both spending more time in school doing creative stuff than we probably should have.
Yeah, the mostly on that one story. We worked on that story a long time. Like a really, I don't know how long. It was called Infinity.
Yeah,
like, we can say that.
It was called Infinity.
Nothing ever happened with it.
We worked on that story we started it before my senior year, and we stopped working on it at the very end of my senior year. So we worked on that story for the entirety of my senior year. So, like, when I think of high school, because you were still a junior. So when I was a senior, Scott was a junior. And so we worked on that the entirety of my senior year. And it was really fun. We only have, because we're going to show a lot of old artwork during the stream. We do have a page from Infinity that we drew. We only have one. We drew an entire chapter of it, like a full 20-page issue that we were gonna submit to publishers. But if you want to pull that up and show that, Scott.
Yeah, give me a second. I should have pulled this up before the stream, but
you're fine. But
what folder is it in? Oh, Twitch. Okay.
I sent you the folder. It's called Stream Pictures.
But what folder is that in?
I just sent you the folder. I just linked it to you.
But which folder is it in?
It's literally the folder. It's called Stream Pictures. That is the folder.
You didn't put it in our drive?
No.
Like, we have a drive for this, and you didn't put it in
right now.
God damn it, Bryce.
I linked it to you. Just fucking do it.
Okay. Well, now I'm scrolling back through our Facebook messages and.
Oh my God! Just go to your email. That's what I mean. Like, it notifies you when I do this.
Like, I don't have an email.
What do you? I'm gonna kick your ass. This is where the funny comes in, guys. This is where we snap out of our serious tone. Now we have to wait. Well, while we wait for Scott to, I guess, figure out how Drive works. Because we worked on Infinity, and we worked on it. I mean, we wrote, and I still have all these. We wrote 30, 40 like issues worth of scenes. Like, we really were into this story. This was our Naruto. Like, we We plotted this book so many different ways. There were like 20 characters. Have you still not found it?
I think you sent me this link.
I did, Scott. I added you and I added both your email accounts to it, and it notifies you through email. Is what I'm trying to tell you.
I don't see a link on Facebook.
I didn't send it to you on Facebook. I'm telling you, open your fucking email and click the link it sends you when you share someone a folder on Drive.
Which email?
Both of them. Your 2 emails. I know your 2 emails. It's both of them.
I found it. Hey guys, how's it going?
We don't get sad, we get mad. Change the title of the stream. Anyway, I labeled everything. They're in nice folders. They have
this page.
They have dates. I did it so everything's really easy. So you better find this fucking page quick.
Oh no, I found it. That's not the problem. The problem is that it looks like this. Is this the first page?
I don't know. I actually I put in Drive. I put the first ever script if you want to pull that up.
Sure.
The script for the first issue.
Oh my god, it's literally just
I know.
This is the whole thing.
This is the first ever script we wrote for a book. I don't know. It said I made an edit 7 hours ago. I don't know what I did 7 hours ago. I promise you I didn't fucking touch this. This is the unedited,
He went back and polished it up the script.
It's just as bad as I remember. It's gnarly.
But a lot of dots.
A lot of dots.
Oh boy.
But yeah, this is just one of the pages. We did this. We fully drew a like 20-page issue. And so this is like 5 pages, but it went on for like, it literally was like 20 pages. I don't know what happened. I know Scott still has it traditionally, but digitally we just lost it.
I probably still have it buried in this desk.
Let me
somewhere.
tell you how bad it was. We were like really cringy, and there is a part where they go to a movie theater. Actually, I got to talk about this. There's a part where they go to a movie theater, and it has like the funniest thing I'd ever written, where they walk out of the movie theater, and then he walks up there and he goes, "You want to see a movie?" Like right after she walked out of the movie theater. But we definitely wrote that they had just seen what was it, Twidark. Because we thought we were really funny. We thought we were really funny. We were like 16, and The Fault in Our Cars.
Fault in Our Cars. I forgot about that.
We thought we were really
because that lets you know how dated this was. By the way,
we thought we were really big
popular.
brain. And so we worked on that for a year, and I remember showing that to my dad, and my dad looking at me and going, "Oh, so you guys are taking this seriously, huh?" And looking back on it, I'm like, I don't know what part of that makes you think we were taking this seriously, but I really appreciated that. But yeah, we worked on that for a year, and we did a lot of different iterations of it. It was a lot of like, it wasn't just like one book. It was really like 7 books we worked on that first year, but we like didn't want to abandon it because it was our book. It was our key to success.
You know how everybody knows somebody who's like really young and they have like either the next big novel or the next big like comic or anime or something. This was what that was for us.
Yeah,
we thought we had it.
I remember us sitting there talking about. Let me tell you how bad and cringy we were talking of, like, we were like, this is so good, I bet Shonen Jump would publish it, even though we're American. Like, that's how good this is. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
I distinctly remember having that conversation. It's so bad to think about now. It's so fucking cringy. But I distinctly remember you and I, because see, Scott and I, what we used to do when we would, we call it shooting. So if you hear us referring to shooting at all, that's what we like. We'll be like, hey, you want to shoot? It just means like you want to shoot the shit. That's what we say. So like when we plot, we shoot the shit. And we used to shoot the shit on Minecraft. What we would do is we'd hop on Minecraft and we would just place TNT and we would talk about story stuff. And so we would literally cover every block. We would make a big square of TNT, just like outline it, and then just spend like 2 hours just covering in every single block while we just talked about storytelling stuff. And I still have the original worlds that we did that on when we were like 16, 17.
I think it was named Itachi,
It was named Itachi. Yes.
which is also emblematic of what we were doing at the time.
And so we would do that, and we would just like blow shit up on Minecraft and just talk. And so a lot of Infinity, a lot of it wasn't working on comics, like actually writing and drawing. It was a lot more talking. Like it was a lot more just us sitting down and coming up with ideas. And it was really fun because it's definitely one of the funnest times in my career when I think about it, because there was never any like, is this good or is it bad or is it this or is it that? It was just fun. Like it was just us having a good fucking time.
Well, we didn't ask if it was bad because we thought it was fucking great.
We thought if someone thought it was bad, they were bad. Like we were the fucking goats, and like even Kishimoto was gonna bow down to us by the time we were done. Like we really thought it was good. We were also really cocky when we were younger. Scott and I used to be really cocky in regards to our creative abilities.
And then all of our confidence was stolen from us.
Then the years dwindled it down. But I guess just talking about it, we also, that was a really important time for us, all of the talking and everything, because that was when Scott and I started to really build what I feel like is the reason we can work together and have a business together today so easily without any worries or stress or arguments, because we argued a lot during that time. It was fun. It was a lot. We had a lot of fun times. Also had a lot of arguments. Scott and I went through those growing pains of like trying to work on a story with somebody you really like and having disagreements. Bro, we went through that so much. But I guess the difference is we were both so determined to make this work but there's one specific incident. There's one specific incident where, and this is actually the incident that got us to be better about it, where we couldn't decide. One of us wanted a character. It's so fucking stupid too. It's such a stupid thing to get like that we thought about. But one of us wanted a character to have a metal arm, and the other did. The other one just wanted him to have a normal fucking arm. I think you wanted him to have the metal arm, right?
Sounds very like me.
And I think I wanted him to have the normal arm. I think. Because I think he lost his arm in the story, and so it was just like I want him to just not have an arm, and you wanted him to have a metal arm. I think that's what it was.
Yes.
And so, we just couldn't agree on it. And nowadays, when we have a problem, we just come to a compromise or talk or work it out. Typically, typically don't even really run into this. Typically, we're pretty much on the same wavelength today. But back then,
usually if we can't agree on an idea, or like we have two ideas we're stuck between, we just think of a new idea.
Yeah, typically what that means is that's not a good idea. If it's an idea we both can't agree on, we typically just come to the conclusion that it's not a good enough idea, or some merger of the two is the best. But back then, we were teenagers. We were like, fuck you, I have the bigger dick. My idea gets precedence. And so we decided to solve this by playing a game of MLB The Show. Scott and I really like baseball, really like the show. And Scott fucking smoked me in it. I mean, like, he ran through me. And at one point, he hit a grand slam. And he goes, "Oh, did I do that? I was looking down at my phone. I didn't even notice." He didn't say it like that, but that was the connotation I took from it. And I got very mad. I mean, it's one of the only times I've been talking to Scott and I've gotten offline. Like we were talking online and I just fucking left. And I said, "Fuck you." And I got off. I don't know if I've ever done that since in an angry way. That might be the only time.
I just want to say I didn't do it on purpose. I legitimately was just looking at my phone, and I looked back up, and I was up by 4 more runs than I was previously, and I was like, "Oh, did I hit a grand slam?"
Kolky, I'll get to the Twitter artist when there's some kind of break. But yeah, and so like basically what happened with that is we had that argument, and like that kind of became a whole thing. There was like a legitimate bit of an argument about that. And then, is this Mia?
Yeah, this is gonna be Nurse Mia. Also, I meant to ask you, how are you feeling about this Franz design? Do you think he needs glasses?
I like the glasses on the nose idea that we had. but I don't think it's necessary.
I gave him a big ol' snout.
Again, I don't think it's necessary.
Pat, what do you think? Glasses or no glasses?
But monocle? Ooh, monocle's a good idea.
That is very Franzy.
Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket. The monocle. But anyway, that led us to actually decide to sit down and figure out how to problem solve a bit. And we ended up doing it. It didn't get fixed overnight, but over time it got fixed. And
That was the last time we ever had a contest to decide a story idea.
it definitely was that. And I think the biggest thing throughout that whole saga was testing our seriousness with it, because we both were still teenagers, and especially me, I was fucking around a lot at that time in my life and not really doing a lot of the things I should have, and that was a big period of testing things, like testing, writing every day, drawing every day, especially because I graduated a whole year before Scott. So Scott had a year while he was still in school to decide where, but for me, I was like thrust into being like, I'm 18 now, I had to figure stuff out. And right around the time I graduated is when we decided that Infinity wasn't the golden story. It wasn't our golden ticket. I actually remember us having a very sad conversation about it, being like, maybe this just isn't the greatest story ever written. But we'll come back to it because it might be. I literally remember us saying that. And then we decided to start working on Ko. Which
I thought Ko was after. Was it before Ember or after Ember?
Ko was before. Ko was the second story we ever worked on. We worked on Ko right after I graduated. I looked at the dates. I double checked all the dates to make sure.
I see.
So that's why we started working on Ember in December that year. So at this point we're in 2015, and we're around June, July-ish. So I've just graduated. Scott is in the middle of his summer break, and the reason I know Ko was during the summer, other than actually looking it up, is that I remember at the start of the summer, part of what was why we abandoned Infinity, and I don't know if you remember that, Scott, is because you had your summer break, and I knew I had a summer to decide what I wanted to do. And so we said, let's make something new during the summer. Let's finish an entire issue of something. Let's submit it to publishers. Let's do that. Do you remember that? That was like our whole thing. And so we started working on this story called Ko. And basically Ko was just Bleach. Because
we went from a Naruto knockoff to a Bleach knockoff.
Which is really weird because we both hate Bleach.
It's true.
We don't like Bleach. I don't know why this happened. But I do really like the earliest parts of Bleach, if I had to take a guess of why. Your stream died, Scott. Hello? Uh-oh. I don't know if my internet died or if Scott just died. Can you guys hear us? Can you hear me? Did I say Bleach is dead, and did that kill the stream? Okay, so Scott's gone for right now. Panic! We'll just sit here on the Danny DeVito stream, and while I try and get Discord figured out, everybody, hold on. Fucking Bleach yeeted us. Okay, I can't get Discord to load up at all. We're looking into issues with people sending messages. Great, Discord. This is a real fantastic time to whip that out. Yeah, we triggered Kubo. On desktop, Discord's not working. Yeah, it's not. I'm about to have to hit up that fucking... Hold on, everybody. I'm not used to being on air alone. This is stressful for me. Is Discord down on browser? Can you video chat on browser? Or like screen share on browser? Get that phone call audio. Yeah, we'll we can hop into Google Hangouts. Talk about the piss story. I've told enough piss stories on stream. Come on. I'm out of piss stories at this point. Hangouts, yeah. I guess I don't know if Scott's watching. I'm talking like he can hear me. I'm just assuming that he's listening right now. Yeah, I guess we could hangouts instead. Give me a minute. I'm messaging Scott, everyone. Okay, yeah, we're gonna get hangouts working real quick, everybody. Give me a sec. It might take me a minute, and then we'll continue the thing. Oh, bro, I haven't used Hangouts for like a thing like with Scott in a long time. 2019 was the last time. Jesus. He said let me know when to call, but the fucker hasn't called me yet. So apparently he's the problem right now. What the hell is a Hangout? Google Hangouts. It's what we all used to use. I say we all, literally just talking about me and Scott, my friends, before fucking stream or Discord.
Hello?
Hello? Okay. Hold on.
Boy?
Hi. Oh,
I can't hear
my
you.
mic
It
was-
also says, oh wait, yeah. You're muted.
Yeah, I know I'm fucking muted, asshole. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Okay. We're good. We're good.
Let me get the screen share
Okay.
going, make sure that works.
Okay. What a time for Discord to go down.
Right,
What
okay,
a
so can you see
fucking-
my screen?
Yeah, I can. Okay, here, let me get this pulled up on the other screen. We're not. They can't see us yet, so don't worry.
Okay, I'm gonna draw swastikas.
Don't even say that as a joke. Okay. It seems to be fine now. Discord's still not fine for me, so
It's fine, we're already
we're
here.
hanging out in the rest of the stream, boys. We're hanging out. Okay, am I good to pull it back on?
Yeah, go back.
Okay, we're back.
We're back, guys. We did it. We fixed the problem, kind of.
Woo!
Why is there a black border around the stream now?
I don't know. It's what Hangout fucking does. I can't fix it.
Okay, get the dick out of your mouth for one.
I was taking a drink of water. Oh god, the frame rate? Nothing's happened. He's not even moved his mouth. What do you mean, oh god, the frame rate? Literally nothing has moved.
There's gotta be a way to hide that black border, right?
Bro, do you want me to sit here and fuck with docs right now? Or with
Docs?
Hangouts right now? Shut up. You could expand the screen share in OBS. I'm afraid of touching anything.
No.
in OBS.
Hit those three dots at the top and click on full screen.
That was full screen. What do you want from me?
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
well,
do you
all
think
right,
I'm stupid?
what? Okay. You know what? This is fine. This
Who
works.
talked with water in their mouth? I'm stressed right now, okay? That was stressful for me. Cut me some slack.
Why does Franz look like an 80-year-old woman? What did I fuck up? I gotta do some work.
Ah,
here.
fuck, I accidentally loaded Discord back up. I keep forgetting it's going to appear. I was going to check and see if it's back. Okay, I guess we're going to hang out to the rest of the stream. Fucking Co? Were we talking about Co? I think we were talking about Co.
Yeah.
I got my
I was-
brain's like broken.
I think I was gonna pull up a page from
Yes,
Ko.
yeah. I put all 20. We fully drew Co. We fully wrote the first
In
issue.
one summer, we drew a chapter.
Yeah,
This was the first page. Again, I said it was knockoff Bleach.
it really so this is the first page. Wow, I forgot about this. Can you show the page with the One Piece tears? I think it's like page 20. You'll know what I mean. I remember Scott asking me how to draw. He said, "Who draws good tears?" And I just said One Piece in response. I remember that, and then he hit me back with this. And looking back on it, it's hilarious. Hey guys, look, it's Bryce Papenbrook. Oof, he is very Kirito-esque though. It's the one. It's with Konami crying at the end. Why do I remember her name? Wow, I'm proud of myself.
I was gonna say
Damn.
I don't even know if I could remember that.
Yeah, it's Konami, Ko, and the little fairy girl's Ayako. We had a bet that if Ko got published, I would get Ayaka tattooed on my ass.
Is it the last page?
Maybe. No, the last page is the Doom page.
Well, besides the Doom page.
I guess. I don't fucking know. I'm not pretending that I remember. This was all done Yeah, that's the One Piece tears.
That's not One Piece. That's Bleach, bro. This is just Rukia's face.
Is it Bleach? Maybe it's Maybe I meant to say Bleach then.
This is.
But I remember that you asked me about crying, and it was an exact copy. Like the name of the character. No, I was gonna get the whole ass character tattooed on my ass.
I get it. Ass character.
Damn.
This was the best page of the chapter.
Yeah, so you did this entirely traditionally, right? Like even like all the paneling and everything is done traditionally here.
Yes, and as you can tell, I did not know how to scan images into a computer.
Yeah, and so we did this, and one of the funnest nights of my career is when we were working on that and we were finishing it. And Scott, I think all you had to do left was the shading, right? Like you had lined everything, but you hadn't shaded stuff, right?
No, I had to scan it all into the computer.
Yeah, I know that, but like the only actual creative work thing you had to do was the shading, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think you had to do the lettering too, right?
Parts of it, yeah.
Yeah, and so Scott had to do that, and I will say the frame rate is really bad. We should get off Hangouts as quickly as we can.
Like, well, is Discord? If Discord's working, we can.
If I pull it up, it's gonna keep pulling up my second screen. Here, we'll check. No, Discord's still not working. Let me pull this off this screen. I'll keep checking to see if Discord's working. We'll try and get off Hangouts as quickly as we can, everybody. But
is the audio quality fine? Like, is it just the frame rate?
Yeah, the audio's fine. Yeah, you sound fine.
Okay. I was really asking them, but
if you sound fine to me, you sound fine to them.
I mean, not necessarily.
They're hearing exactly what I hear.
And I mean, not.
You're fine. I said you're fine.
3 FPS, but I'm not complaining. My Minecraft runs worse.
It is pretty rough. Like I said, we really do want to get off this. But it's fine. Thankfully this is the stream it happened on. Discord's back up for me. Let me check for me again. Nope. It's coming in waves, everybody. Yeah.
I tried to give him a mustache. It just looks like a real big lip.
It does. Somebody said I want a piece critiqued. How do I donate $10? There should be a donate button under the stream. At least on browser. I don't know where it would be on mobile. But there should be a button that you click to donate. But we submit. So we were doing Ko, and we, like I said, I lost my train of thought. The working thing. We had that set amount of work done, and we looked up what we had to do to actually submit comics. And what we had to do, we had to like write synopsises and write query letters and prepare scripts and do all this kind of stuff. And so I remember it was like 5 p.m. It was like right around dinner time. And we were like, we should finish this tonight. We should finish this tonight. Somebody said close Discord. Oh, Discord's back. Okay.
Is it safe?
Yeah, fuck out of this call. Yeah. I'm still in the call apparently. On Discord.
Okay. Well, hold on. Let me close.
I fucking just left the Hangouts call on his ass. I'm pressuring him to get back here quickly. I also didn't mean to leave the Hangouts call. That was a mistake on my part. Well, while we wait for Scott to come back, hopefully his Discord is working fine. Hello.
I'm back.
Okay, good. We're let me know when you get your thing pulled up so I can switch over.
I'm glad that you didn't wait to check and see if my Discord was still working.
I didn't think about it, and so I just clicked out.
We're back, guys.
Yo, Koki, thank you for the gifted sub.
Appreciate it, Kolky.
Bro, did you forget how to pull your screen up? Do I need to help you? Oh,
It's up.
okay.
It is up.
I guess
you fucking maroon.
Discord's just... Okay, we're back, everybody. We're back.
Damn it, Brian.
Now I can finally finish the thing I was trying to say. Also, the person that said that they want to donate $10. If you can't find the button, message again. I don't know where it'd be on mobile. I know that it's on like right directly if you click about for on browser. But yeah, so we decided. I remember us having to talk, and we said we wanted to finish this tonight. We were like, tonight let's finish it, and we didn't know how big of a task that would be at the time. And so we started working at like 5 p.m. and we didn't finish until about 3 p.m. the next day. We worked all night and all morning. We worked through the entire night. It was exhausting. And so we ended that night by submitting to publishers for the first ever time. At 3 p.m. the next day, we were submitting to pubs for the first time. It was really cool. The problem is we decided to do all of this because we were impatient and we were like 17 and 18. We decided to do all this while we were tired as fuck at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And so the first publisher we sent to, I don't remember who it was. We just forgot to include the pitch materials. Like we just dead ass forgot to include the synopsis and everything. And we called him the wrong name. We called him the wrong publisher name. We did that. Not good. Did that again, actually. Did it twice, not just once. So not one of them got back to us, and was very nice about it. The other one just didn't get back to us at all.
Which was fair.
Yeah, which is very fair. I wouldn't have gotten back to us. Let me make that clear. And so we did have one person get back at the. Everyone just got back and said no. Like the bullshit. But we had one person. I don't know if we want to name them by name, but we're only going to speak positively about them. So I think it's a fine thing.
Yeah, we can say it.
His name was Sam Gardone, and he worked with a company at the time named Outpouring Comics. Outpouring
now
Comics,
defunct.
Yeah, now defunct, but it was a small independent publisher. Thank you for the 10 dono. They said, I love your stuff. Thank you for keeping my art. How much do I donate from Mia to spank me?
That $10 will get it.
If you want your piece critiqued, if you link it in the chat, Scott will pull it up.
Yeah, what's their name?
Hidden Crisis.
Okay. Yeah, if you send it in the Discord thing, tag me and I'll critique it.
Yeah. So I link in the Discord, link it here in chat. Either one. If you're not in the Discord. And so he got back to us, and he was like, I can't publish it, but I think you two have a lot of talent. And this came at a time when Scott and I, we didn't necessarily think we had a lot of, like, this was post that Infinity High we talked about, where we thought we were the greatest of all time. And we didn't really think we had a lot of talent. This was, it's not because we didn't think we had a lot of talent. We didn't know if we could do this. So to us, this was an industry professional coming at us, telling us that we had talent. And I don't know if he didn't do that, if we'd be here today, because that
probably not.
Definitely, we were still talking about that a year or two later, to the point where we actually thanked him in a book, and he said, like, I don't know why I had such a big impact on you guys. I just said one thing. But, like, to us, as a 17 and 18-year-old kid, it was very impressionable. Because he didn't just say, like, oh, you have to, he, like, sent us a full long paragraph talking about how, you know, we're not there yet, but we should just keep working at art. We should keep writing, keep drawing. He gave us a bunch of feedback. And most importantly, he gave us an open line. He said, anytime you guys have questions or want me to read scripts or want anything, you know, just email me. And so we started doing that a lot, actually. We were emailing him quite a bit. We actually sent him an entire another script that he told us that he could tell we put a lot more work into than Co. And we wrote that script in 3 days. It was really funny. It was a story called Operation Stoker. It was a vampire novel.
Can you tell by the name?
Yeah, it was a vampire. We thought that was the smartest name ever at the time. But
we were very intelligent.
It was that, along with a few other life events around the time that sort of, I feel like, solidified our desire to do this as a career. You know, we've talked about the GameStop story with me, and we've talked about other stories like that, and there were things like that that were happening to both of us that sort of made us realize that we would rather do this than anything else, even if we have miserable lives doing this. And I don't know if you ever had a specific conversation with your family, Scott. I know how your family reacted, but I had a specific conversation where I sat down with my parents and I said to them, listen, I want to be a comic writer. I know I've never really taken anything seriously in my life, but I really honestly and seriously want to do this, and it's all I want to do. I don't want to go to college. For me personally, it's a waste of money because I I don't, I didn't get good grades. I'm not going to do something I want to do. I'd rather just do comics. And I was really scared to have that conversation, but my parents were basically just, my dad loves reading and specifically loves comics too, and my mom has always supported me in everything I did. And they were both just like, yeah, if you take this seriously, if you prove to us that you take this seriously, and if you work on this every day like a job, we have no problem with you not like working, not going to school, not doing anything like that, and just focusing on honing your craft for a few years. And that was really big for me, because that was basically them saying, we are giving you a free pass just to get better. And so that was something I was always very aware of. And part of what drove home the mentality of I need to work really hard and a lot. It's why I was writing 7,000 words a day, because I got an opportunity that a lot of people didn't get. And I got I never knew when that time was going to go away. Not that I thought my parents would yoink it away from me, but I wanted to get better and use that time as well as I could. And now, Scott, we'll get to that critique in a second. Do you want to cap this part off by telling your family's reaction first? And
Yeah, not as good as Bryce's. They did not take positively to the idea of me not going to college, because as we mentioned earlier, I was actually like kind of good in school. I had some scholarship offers to do some different things. And I just didn't want to do it, and they really didn't like that idea of me not going. So yeah, I remember the specific conversation I took my grandmother, who is like the matriarch of the family. I took her out to eat at a Mexican restaurant, and I just explained that, like, yeah, I don't want to go to college. This is what I want to do. Not happy. She was not happy. That was something that caused a bit of a rift between us for a few years. And really, I don't think she ever respected that decision until I started making some decent money at it. Because I have a very traditional family in that sense. So Bryce and I had different reactions from our families from the decisions.
Literally entirely opposite ends of the spectrums. Bryce's parents are goats. Yeah, my parents have never been anything but supportive in everything I've done. I also have two parents that, like, they when I was growing up, they were like I was playing video games. Like, I was sitting with my dad in my dad's lap playing Ocarina of Time when I was like 3 years old. Do you want to pause here and do that critique?
Yeah.
Somebody, yeah, while you get that pulled up, somebody asked if you're mostly self-taught, which is a yes. You're entirely self-taught, actually.
Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, self-taught's a bit of a
by what they mean, which I assume is went to school for it.
Yeah, I didn't go to art school or any kind of higher education. I think art school's a waste, but teach their own. I didn't do any of that. So yeah, but like I said, self-taught's a little misleading, because like I had certain people that I learned with, certain mentors, certain various things that helped me get along, and obviously I learned all the stuff online. But as far as actually going out and finding the information myself, yeah, I'm self-taught. This is fine for stream, right? Just like a big old booty.
It's fine, yeah. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
I would say that's fine.
Okay. All right, this is let me get your name again here. Misfit Rogue on Discord. I think they had a different
Hidden Crisis.
Hidden Crisis. Yeah. I wanted to make sure I got your name right. Gave me this artwork for critique. I think that the immediate thing, I think it's pretty good. I think the immediate thing that I would point out here is I think the arm, her right arm here, kind of it doesn't have see where this line is straight. It doesn't quite read where it's going back into space very well. I think what you could have done to maybe fix that, or at least help it a little bit, is if you had the skirt here go. It's going to be hard for me to actually paint in this plaid because it's plaid, but like had that sort of go over, and then maybe straighten the elbow out a little bit. Straighten the elbow out a little bit. And also apply some shading to these areas here. So like this area, if you apply this bit of shading, it sort of makes it, because the goal is you want to have overlap, right? Like you want to have this butt go over the arm so you can tell that this bicep here is behind the butt, and the arm is popping out over it, the forearm is. So if you start going in like this, I can actually turn this on and off. You can see it sort of starts to add a little bit of depth. Now you can do this for the wrist as well, because you want a little bit of overlap for the wrist. And you can see what that does is it adds, you want to add also from an anatomical point of view, I feel like the shoulder is a bit off. I will save a copy so I can go back to the original. I feel like the shoulder is a bit off, so I'll talk about that a little bit. How I like to break up the torso is like, so okay, say here you have the neck. I almost draw like a collar around the neck, just so it's like you get all like I guess how it would attach on like a figurine, where you could like, you know, pop it off if you wanted. Because just in my brain that makes sense, and like, you know, the head's up here. So right now you kind of have like the torso here, and maybe probably a bit wider, and then this shoulder here, and then this shoulder here. It seems the center for the shoulder would be here, whereas it's right here. So okay, if you look at these two balls, they are sort of on line, like the collarbone would go here, but this arm is reaching up, like it's reaching backwards. So if you do that, you can actually feel like your shoulder moves. So really, instead of being right here, the shoulder would be like back here. And that would change the drawing quite a bit, where now the actual shoulder muscles here, and then the arm is maybe here. Add a little bit more like stretch to the chest, right? Because if you think about the torso, it's kind of flat, especially for people that are in good shape. Like I think some people, and you didn't do this too bad in this drawing, but like some people just, I think this generally will help people, especially beginners. They tend to think of the torso as like almost like a circle. You know, it's like this is your torso shape. Really, especially like I said, for in shape people, it's more of a rectangle. One person that this is really exaggerated in that I know that always strikes me is actually Conor McGregor. Dude has a very rectangular torso, so like especially for dudes as well. They can have a very, very strong rectangular torso, but this is the same way for women. So you might get like an in shape female torso that kind of starts to look also like a bit more of a rectangular shape, like it's very flat, I guess is the point. So maybe so what I was going with that is like, so if the shoulder blades go here or here, or shoulder not blades, what would that be called? I guess it's just the shoulder. If they go here, you can actually move these around, and it adds a lot more dynamic angles to your pose. So like you can stretch it where your arms are, like if you move your arms backwards, you can actually feel your shoulders moving, right? Like actually put your arms behind you. So you could do like have the two shoulder blades and have the top of the torso basically curved, and you're pushing your chest out forward. This is it feels more dynamic when you do that. and it is completely like I don't know. I get for me like it always was something that felt like wrong. But if you actually move your body, you can kind of feel how that works. And obviously, for more cartoonish styles, you can exaggerate that further. Like if somebody's throwing a baseball, for example, and like their head is here, their shoulder might be down here, and the top of their torso can curve like this. So like the other shoulder is actually going to be over here. Like their glove will, other arm will go up here. But like you can see this really. I'll pull up a reference picture actually. It'll show it better than I can. Da, 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 da.
Dead
Pictures are
silence.
also wild if you're ever studying like um like the human body, because like if you just see a picture of a major league pitcher throwing, it looks so wrong. It like everything looks broken because it's such an extreme motion. But I think that's a really good thing if you're learning about exaggeration, um, because it's showing the extremes of the human body. So okay, here we look at this picture of I think this is Dakota Hudson. Um, uh, so you have his shoulder that's right here, right, and his other shoulder is back here somewhere, and you can see this curve where this area of the shoulder has moved down with a lot of force. I'll pick a blue so it'll be easier to see. Where it's moved down with a lot of force. So be very mindful of that. Like I said, flatter torsos, and more of an extreme. And I think going back to this drawing, I think that would help quite a bit.
Can I correct you because it's
Because
driving me nuts? That was Tim
yeah.
Hudson.
Oh shit.
I don't know why you thought
Was
that
it
was
really?
Dakota Hudson. Yeah, that was Tim Hudson.
Who's Dakota Hudson?
I don't know. Some pitcher for the Cardinals. I'd never heard of him. That was Tim Hudson. Come on.
Oh shit.
I can't
Okay.
believe you fucking got Tim Hudson confused.
Guys, I'm sorry. I got Tim Hudson confused. Everyone's gonna leave the stream now.
Anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, so this is something that I think would help with this pose, because I think if I had to pick one thing to improve in this drawing, it would be this pose here. And you could kind of push the shoulders a little bit more, like, maybe drop this shoulder down a little bit and have a stronger angle on this arm, show a bit more of the bicep area. So like have this sort of thing here, have the torso go like this, and maybe have trying to think of a. I'm actually one thing you can also do is actually use your body the same way you're trying to draw, like whatever the pose is. And I'm trying to like do this. It's a difficult angle to do. It's like if the forearm starts here, you can do like this kind of thing. I think something like that. If I had to do a red line for you real quick, for how I would do it differently. But I don't know. Yeah, how's that? Is that a good critique?
I thought that was a good critique.
Okay. Critique fucking over. Unless you have any questions. I can't believe I confused Dakota Hudson.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. But yeah, Hidden Crisis, I hope you enjoyed your critique.
Yeah, hope it was helpful.
Oh fuck, the music died at some point. I didn't notice till right now. Okay, music's back, everyone. They asked if you had a critique on the redhead. They said they really enjoyed that and it was helpful.
Critique on the redhead. Honestly, I feel like the redhead's pretty good. I mean, you've done a nice, but this is a pretty high level booty. I think maybe if I had to give one, it would be that the underwear is like, it looks like you were going for it to be disheveled on this cheek, so like it's pulled up here, which is fine, but I probably would have made that a little more clear with like the lines going here. I don't know, don't do a better job than I did here, but the clothing folds on the underwear itself, because right now it just kind of looks like, I don't know how to explain. Like it doesn't read super clearly that it's like pulled up, and exposing a little bit more, or like I said, disheveled. You could have done like go up here and have the top of it, to sort of show that a little bit. Lots of things you can do. but I don't really have much to say about her because I think you did a pretty good job on that, my friend.
They said 10 out of 10 would donate again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Happy to help.
Okay.
Now back to shitting on ourselves in the
Yeah.
past.
Back to this. So we finished Co. That's where we were at around the time we finished Co. And we knew after that. I don't know if there's anything life-wise we want to talk to around that point. But basically, life-wise, what was going on is that we knew we didn't want to. We knew we didn't want to do normal shit. We wanted to draw and write, and so that's when Scott was still in school, and so what Scott could do was pretty limited, other than just drawing every day. I, at that time, on my own, started writing prose for the time where I the times where I weren't writing comics. My brain is breaking. For the times, and so at that point, I wrote 3 novellas and 1 novel from 2016, like September 2016 to like January of like the next year. None of them were good, and I struggled to get them published. And what that taught me was that I needed to get better. I remember that very distinctly, was being like, this was the slap on the wrist of I need to practice and get better at prose before I could even try writing a novel again. And during that time, we started working on a story called Ember, which Ember, I feel like, was and still is, because it is something that we both want to actually work on again. It was the spiritual successor to Infinity. Not that it had anything to do with it, but Ember is and was what we've always wanted to do, which was a big shonen with a lot of characters, with a lot of arcs, like the stuff we grew up with, like the Narutos and the Bleaches and the blah blah. We didn't do a lot of artwork for Ember. We never actually drew. We drew 1 page of Ember, right, Scott? I think.
Yeah, because it went through several, like 7 or 8 different drafts and rewrites over the years, because we worked on it a long time. The very first draft we drew 1 page of, and I was very self-conscious about it, and I realized that I just wasn't good enough at that time to draw
basically
it
the
the way
same
we wanted
realization
to.
that I was talking about having.
Yeah, so it ended up, and then we ended up rewriting that draft anyways. So
yeah, we basically, from end of 2016 to 2018, we worked on Ember on and off again for that entire year. Like, we'd stop it, work on something else, go back to it, stop it. We really wanted it to work. I did include some Ember pictures, Scott.
all right, let me.
So we have some designs, and I think these are really fascinating because these designs are so different than your art style now. Like, there's not.
Oh boy, are they?
So I assume first you're probably gonna pull up. There's 2 different iterations of Echo in there, and the more cartoony one I think was the later one.
This any artist that struggles with their own confidence out there, let this aid your
So this was
let this aid your confidence a little bit.
this was the main character of the story, Echo Ember.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I think it's her brother, right? That's the other design we have.
Yeah, I'll show you the other one. This was the other Echo.
Yeah, this was her later down the line.
Yeah, that was an updated version of that. Still like 2017 era.
Yeah, it was still 2017.
This was her brother. This was before I was drawing with a tablet. I still had a computer mouse.
Oh, you were drawing this with your mouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
I should have to take a drink of water, but I didn't pull the cap
It's
off.
like 4 studio triggers mixed into one. It's kind of is. What is that blue thing on his?
I don't know. I saw that earlier, and I sat there for like dead ass a minute trying to think about it. I could not decipher what it was.
I don't know what this is. Maybe like a lip ring. Yeah, that's the real old shit, pal.
But yeah, so we were working on that story, and like I said, it was the same kind of thing with Infinity, where we it was the same kind of story, and we worked on it for a long time, and it was a lot of rewrites. But the difference was this lacked that confidence that the Infinity era us had, where we thought we were really, really good. We knew we weren't really good when we were working on Ember. And so Ember was a lot of not actually doing anything. It was a lot of plotting an entire book and then scrapping it, and then plotting 20 chapters and then scrapping it, and then doing a design and then scrapping it, and then writing a scene and then scrapping it. Nothing was getting done. Really, it was a lot of wasted time is the best way I can describe it. There were a lot of cool ideas, not wasted times in terms of like, it helped us get to where we're at now. We had to learn these lessons. But wasted time is in terms of we weren't actually making comics. We were just plotting comics. And
There was a big realization, and we'll get to it, how we got there, and how we implemented that more in a second. But uh, where we were just trying to write the thing that we wanted to write, and it's a very difficult lesson for young creators to learn, but you can't always write that. What we wanted to write was a giant 1,000-chapter Naruto clone. You just can't do that. Your first comic can't be that, you know? And that was a difficult lesson we didn't end up learning till like 2018, which we'll get to.
yeah, and so
Not to spoil the story.
during one of our Ember breaks, during our first Ember break, we started working on what would end up being the first novel script we would ever finish, a graphic novel script. So we wrote like issues, like we wrote the first issue, first chapter, whatever you want to call it, of like Infinity and Co. But this was the first full-blown 200-page book we'd ever finished. Now we never actually drew any pages for it. It was called The Fantastical World of Umbru, but we did do a bunch of character designs for it, and it was the first ever script we wrote. The problem, and the reason this wasn't great for our confidence, is we did not like this book. We were not big fans of this book. We hated everything about it. Only one person has ever read this actually, and that's Forklift Boys. And if he's still in chat, yeah, he read it. Remember? We sent it to him to read it. Yeah, so this there's a bunch of designs in there, and I want make sure you specifically. I want to show all of them, but show Mercury's because that's relevant for later.
Well, I have
Mort. I forgot about Mort. But yeah, basically this was when we knew we couldn't do the shonen anymore. We tried to start branching into other things we liked. And remember this Mercury, because this will be relevant later. Mercury got reused in a story we'll be talking about later. But I actually don't remember this character at all, Scott. And I was thinking, didn't we add him? But he wasn't in the script, right? We added him post because he was a dude that could turn into a big buff dog man. Remember?
Yeah.
But he wasn't in the script, I don't think. I think he's just a character we came up with afterwards. Oh, fucking Hazel. I forgot about Hazel.
That was another character we wound up reusing.
But oh yeah, that is true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, we did wind up reusing Hazel.
And then Jones.
And then Jones was the best character we've ever created. I die on that hill. Forklift Boy said, "Hey, it was great. Then you got better." Fucking thank you, homie. But yeah. So this was our attempt to. We went. Well, what else do we like, and what do we like that we think we can fit? Because we had been told by Sam. Because at this point we weren't talking to him as much because it's kind of stuff happened. Or not stuff happened with Sam. It's just like we fell out. Like we had moved on. And he had moved on. He was doing his thing. But we were talking to him a little bit, and he had kind of instilled in us that we should try and work on something shorter, whatever it is. We should just try and write something shorter for our first book. If it's 100 pages, 150. And so we decided to do that. And Umbru, we were thinking, well, the things we like, and we like dark fantasy. Specifically, I grew up loving things like Coraline and like Graveyard Book, anything written by Gaiman, basically. Alice in Wonderland, stuff like that. And so this was our attempt to do that. The problem is it sucked so fucking much. It was. I'm trying to remember the basic plot. I don't care. Bite this plot. I don't care. You can use this if you can make it better than we did. Um, it
Don't
was.
don't for your own good.
It,
Don't bite this plot.
it was a girl named Eliza, and a boy named Oliver. Wasn't his name Oliver? No, Milo. Milo. It was Milo. Or was Milo the cat?
It worked. That drives a high-low.
Or was Milo the cat? I don't know. But basically, the point is that they fell into a fake world. Not a fake world, like an alternate world. And in that world, immediately the boy character, whose name I don't remember, apparently, got accused of stealing, like, the royal cake. And it was like, they only had cake once a year. And he got accused of stealing the royal cake, bro. Sweet fucking Cuphead character. And then basically the entire book was her. JST and Art said, "Thank you guys for sharing the fan art. I got traffic from it. I appreciate you guys so much." Fucking,
You're welcome.
Thank you for the good art. But it's the basis that the whole book was her having to get the evidence that proved his innocence, and then it comes out that King Mercury actually stole the cake, and then it ended, I shit you not, with a fucking beam battle.
It did. It did end with a. I forgot about that, but you're right. It did.
It ended with a fucking beam battle because it was awesome. We were like 18 at this point. And we still really like Dragon Ball.
You know, you can't have a story without a beam battle.
We had this problem. I don't know why, but this entire year we're talking about, it's all 2017 now. In 2017 and 2016, the earliest career, everything had to have a fight in it somewhere. Like, somehow it had to be a fight. And then we actually hit a point where we had to have a talk with you. We were like, we gotta stop this. We gotta, like, why are we writing a children's book with a beam battle at the end of it?
Because it's awesome.
But yeah, so we wrote Umbrew, fully finished it, and it hit us really hard because we didn't like it. Like I said, we didn't like it. We kept saying the whole time, when we finish a full book, we'll feel so good about ourselves and we'll like it, and it'll be so worth it. And remember, we're doing this not while we're working, not while we're doing anything. I'm literally making $0 at this point. I had to beg my parents to buy me Persona 4 or Persona 5 at like 18 years old. That was really embarrassing, but it was a thing I had to do because I had no money. I literally had nothing. Scott at this point was just starting to do comic commissions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was I doing AP at this point?
You, based off my little bit of research, yes, you had started doing the first thing of AP. Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to talk about the process there in general? How you started wanting to do comic commissions and stuff like that? That whole thing.
Well, I've not talked about this publicly, but I'll mention it briefly. Bryce's parents allowed him to stay home, so he didn't have to go out and get like a day job and stuff, and that was good. I didn't have that. What happened to me was a bit different. I had my great grandmother that lived next door got sick, and so when I decided not to go, and so it was my grandmother who was really unhappy that I didn't go to college. It was her mother. She got really sick, and she needed somebody to take care of her. And so it was kind of like, I don't want to call it lucky, because obviously she got really sick. And it's the kind of thing you don't get better from. I was able, and I lived right next door to her, like I said, so it kind of worked out that I could stay and help take care of her. And that gave me a lot of time to work on my my art during that time, because she would help me out with bills and food and stuff like that. But it didn't, I still didn't want to be making zero money, because it wasn't, everything wasn't fully taken care of, and I'd been trying to get comic work, and I think at that point I had been in an anthology or two, but it wasn't really anything that would pay the bills. And so I went and I got like, I think I've told the hotel story before, but I went and I worked at like a Holiday Inn for a week, and that was really wild. And then I quit, and about a week after that, I got my first real comic work, which was something that was exciting at the time, It was my first pro comic. I mean, it was a real. It wasn't a lot of money at all. It was like $25 a page. Um, and that started a long relationship that we're going to get into with we'll call them Company X. If you really care enough to find out who we're talking about, you can, because I mean it's all online.
It's
but,
gonna become obvious if we talk more about it, but we're
yeah,
not gonna
but
name
it's
them.
yeah, but it's not anything like, don't go harass anybody. Don't do anything crazy. Um, it's all over now, but we'll get more into that. But yeah, so that was basically my first real comic work. Was I got to start doing that for real cheap, but it was something. Like it was finally a time that, as we both talked about, we were real low confidence wise. I mean, really, like that whole period is like a black period, as far as like memory goes for me, anyways. Because like I really have to think hard to remember Umbrew and stuff like that. Like that whole time period, it seems so distant, and it was such a bad time for me personally, and also for Bryce, I think, because he was going through his own stuff, and he can talk about it if he wants. But it like I just don't have many memories from it because it was the Dark Ages, as Kage Kamika
There you go.
Kage Masa Katana.
Yeah, and so in 2017 was a really weird personal year because we were dealing. The biggest thing is we were both dealing with, at this point, 2017 Scott had graduated, right? And so
Yeah.
we were both dealing with the fact that we had made this decision and we had sunk our teeth into it, and we had decided there was no going back. And so we were dealing with a lot. We get a lot of questions from people that are like, "How do you guys not like, how do you guys always have this confidence and always have that?" And it's like, the thing I want to make clear is there was a time where Scott and I were considering quitting drawing and writing every single day. Where every single day I did not know if we were going to keep doing this. And
I literally remember a time when I was with my ex where I literally just like or probably around this time where I just like cried. I don't cry a lot, but I just cried, and I was just like, I don't know that I'm gonna make it. Like with this whole thing, like it was a really rough time for both of us, in that confidence wise.
And so around that time, like there was also a lot of personal shifts happening for both of us. For me especially, because I was starting to go through a lot of really bad mental stuff. I have OCD, and I've not talked too much about it publicly, just because I don't know, I don't really like to talk about it that much. But I had it my worst, like it was at my worst at this time, and it was like really bad, to the point where it actually fucked up Scott and I's friendship for quite a while. Like there was a time where we were on thin ice with each other. I feel like I don't think at the time we realized how bad it was. I don't think it was until afterwards, but definitely during that time, I was a real fucking douchebag. Not in the sense of like I was mean, just more of like I was never in a good mood, and so I was always putting people in a bad mood, and I wasn't listening to things I was being told, and I was just kind of being a jerk about it. And a lot of it was caused by the fact, it's gonna sound weird, but the fact that I was able to stay home and write all day. I put so much pressure on myself to succeed that there were times where it was like I was writing 10,000 words a day, and I was doing crazy shit like that, and just making myself miserable and killing myself. And I also had to have surgery around that time, because I lost a ton of weight. When I was in high school, I was almost 300 pounds, and I dropped down to 150. I did that on purpose. Like, it wasn't because of my OCD, but I dropped all the way down to like 150 pounds. And then eventually I stabled back up and got to like a healthy weight. And I had to have surgery. I had to have ass surgery. It's pretty funny. I'll say that. I did have to have surgery on my ass. I won't talk about what I had to have surgery on, but I did have to have ass surgery. But it wasn't, it aided the whole bad situation, because I lost all the weight and I was like, hopefully this will help my confidence, and hopefully this will help me and help with my mental stuff. And then I immediately had to have surgery on my ass that kept me not working out, kept me doing things. And so it was a rough time mentally for us. And we then, after Umbrew, we started working on another book called Remember Oliver. That was basically Umbrew 2. It's a different story entirely, but it was the same kind of... Bye, Hassan. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream so far. Hope you have a good rest of your day. It was basically Umbrew 2, and that story bombed even harder. Like, that story, I feel like when Scott and I think of it, is emblematic of that. Like, that story, it's going to sound really dramatic, but, like, it makes me a little queasy to think about because it is, like, the dark time story. I don't know if it's like that for you too, Scott, but it's like, it is what I think of encapsulates that entire period.
That was really the only story that we worked on, the only project that made us fight. Like, there were times we were really angry and frustrated with each other trying to work on that story.
And it was mostly
and that
not
hasn't
because
happened
of the
with
story.
anything else.
It was just because of the time and because of everything going on with it. And it was just a weird fucking time. And so that bombed. And we kind of just like that bombed kind of near the end of the year, I think. So, like, you know, at that point we're talking like September and stuff. I remember you and I just kind of not like fell out in terms of friends. Like, we were still talking every day and hang out, and we're still really good friends. But work-wise, I feel like we fell away from each other, just remembering that time. And we didn't really make many comics for the end of 2017. We didn't really talk about it. We just kind of like pushed it under the bridge. We ignored it, that it was going wrong and everything was falling apart. I went and just wrote a ton of prose and practiced that. And Scott went and he was doing his comic commissions thing. He was working on Alex Priest at the time. Was I okay to say that? I was, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if we said we was okay to say the name of the story. But he was working on that at the time. And then I met my girlfriend, now fiance.
Actually, I want to say first, you're right, we did have that like sort of falling out where we didn't work on anything for a while. But at like the end of the year, like in December, literally, we or no, I guess it was probably before that. At some point, we started working on Ember again. And then like when you met your girlfriend, that it kind of like that part bombed because
we have it. I put it in there. I think check the 2017 folder. I think I have those comics in there. Because we also during this year, let's show off some of the stuff there. We did the mini comic. This is after Oliver. We did the mini comics. Do you remember that? The web comics.
I do.
So we'll show that first, yeah, because I forgot about that. So after Oliver bombed, we were so fucking desperate to do something that we saw the success of Odd One Out and of Jaden Animations and stuff that, okay, this isn't what I was talking about. This is the story. I wrote this story while I had my surgery.
It's true.
This is like my most hated script I've ever written. It's fucking, I mean, it's definitely garbage now, but at the time I hated it too. This was a story called World's Worst Bounty Hunter. We did this comic, and then we did another comic, if you want to show that one, Scott, the black and white one.
Yeah, which one's that called?
I just linked, it's just a PDF. I think it's just called, like, WWBH2 or something like that. It's a PDF, not a thing. I didn't think about that in hindsight, but...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If you don't want to show it, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. If it's too much of a hassle.
Yeah, I'll pull it up real quick. I think I'm fine to pull up Drive, right?
Yeah, you pulled it up earlier, I thought.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was was this, and it was done in a really, obviously a very strange style, especially for my artwork now. But you can see at this point, I was using the chalk brush that I actually pencil in.
Yeah, this is when we're getting closer to the more modern style.
Yeah, this it was.
This is the start. This specific issue actually had a lot of good ideas in it. I remember us being really proud of this. Like paneling, writing at the time. This was the only thing we did that entire year that we liked.
Pretty much.
And like I said, we hope to capitalize on the success of those odd ones out in Jaden Animations things at the time. And so we did our own webcomics. You want to pull some of those up? These are the worst things we've ever done in our career. There is nothing I am more ashamed of than these. In terms of quality. They're bad. I picked the ones I thought were best, Scott, out of what I could find. Jesus Christ.
Here's maybe the worst one too. You can see we posted them on Tumblr as well.
Oh my god, I didn't even remember. I think for all the files I gave them real names, but I think for these ones I just named them like different screaming noises.
Now I will share this one. This is the only one that we did. It had like a couple 100,000 views or interactions.
We
or
did
something.
this the day Pokemon Go came out, I think.
Yes.
The literal day it came out.
Yeah, so that was the only one that did really anything for us. Was this real piece of shit? It was.
Can you tell we really liked Odd One Out at the time? Like, could you tell we were a big fan of James at the time?
I was also really lazy, I guess, and I didn't color these to be American flags or put the.
Scott, we really hated doing these. I mean, we really hated doing these.
I've never hated doing anything more in art than I hated doing these.
We solely did this hoping it would blow up. Like, hoping that it would do something.
And then we had that one, and it did kind of well, and we were like, wow, we still hate this.
Yeah, that was the moment where we realized that, like, that was... And I think that, more than even Remember Oliver, was what, like, was the nail in the coffin. But we did go back, Scott, I think it's that year. The Aurora comic should be listed in there. Is that one of the... That is our last attempt to go back to Ember that I remember. And that was when we actually shifted it from the character Echo to a different character named Aurora, but it took place in the same universe, and there was a tournament. That was the story. Do you remember this? The entire story was a tournament, but we wrote a few mini comics. I can only find one of them. I know we did at least two, but I can only find this one.
Yeah, let me find.
It does have the cutest little mascot character though. I had forgotten he existed.
Yeah, let me find. Let me find a good page to share.
You're fine. But all I remember from this is that there's a cute mascot guy, and there's a guy in a suit that has a guy in a chicken suit on a chain. I don't remember why. I just remember that.
Yeah, it's this was the style at the time.
And we did this, and we really hated this too. Not this specific comic. Like, we were happy with this little 5-page thing or whatever, but the problem is this was just a little 5-page thing. Somebody said show the chicken suit, man.
It's just Paul Heyman, bro. It's just Paul Heyman.
I didn't know. I didn't remember that, but you're right. It's literally just Paul Heyman. Real quick, I'll answer a question we've got. I'm sorry if I'm missing any questions, anybody. I am reading chat, but I'm trying to keep the topic going. But just because this is a quick one, what kind of advice would you give an artist that want to stream? My biggest piece of advice would just be start streaming. Start streaming to nobody. Don't tweet the link anywhere. Don't do anything. Just boot up the stream. Start going. You'll have one person maybe pop in. Do that a few times. It'll help make it feel normal. Because that way you're doing it where you don't have any kind of... Then tweet the link. Like, once you get comfortable, then tweet the link. Because nobody's going to know about those streams. The VODs will disappear. They won't be anywhere. Let's do that. So my advice would... Yo, Scrublord, thank you for the 5 gifted.
Scrublord, thank you, homie.
My advice would just be, if you want to start streaming, just do it. And just do it on that small scale first. Don't tweet anywhere. Don't post anywhere. Don't tell anybody. Don't literally tell anybody. Just go live. And just do that until you start to get comfortable with it, because you will. It'll feel like you won't, but I promise you will. Then start trying to actually share it around. And the biggest thing is, don't try and stream to be funny if you don't want to be funny. Don't try and stream to this if you want to do this. Just stream and do whatever you want to do. Scott and I just like drawing and talking, and we eventually decided we like doing the more topical streams like this one, and we started doing that. And so just do whatever you're most comfortable with and have fun with, because streaming is really hard if you don't enjoy it. It's not easy to sit there and talk for 2 hours or 3 hours and do stuff you don't want to do. So, but getting back into the story. Yeah, so that all happened, that bombed. And then at the end of 2017 in October, I met my fiance, like I said, time girlfriend, now fiance. And she was the start of things getting better mentally for me. But also, it at the time it is what sort of caused that break that we talked about. Just because I met a new girl, and so like obviously I was all over her, and yada yada, and so Scott and I didn't make comics in that time at all, partially because of that. But she definitely started helping me a lot mentally with being able to not just get better about writing, but specifically more so she helped me mentally get better with like my own personal stuff, especially with recovering from the surgery and stuff like that. But then in January of 2018 is probably the most important year. I'm not gonna say most important because last year was really big for us, but I'm talking about importance in terms of the reason we're here today. 2018 is probably the biggest year of that, because 2018 started and nothing had worked, and 2017 was like the worst year, and it was miserable. It was soul sucking and miserable. And I remember at the beginning of January, Scott and I were having a talk, and I don't remember specifically what was said, but I remember the talk was basically like, one more chance. We have both hit our ropes with it. We're both done. Let's try one more time to make a book. Let's strip it down to the very bare bones basic of everything we know about storytelling and writing and creating. Let's try and make just something. Let's try and make something we'll like. And if we don't like it, we're done. We'll stop. We'll move on from writing. Maybe he'll keep doing comic commissions. Maybe I'll keep doing prose, but we'll be done trying to pursue this as a career, and we'll figure something else out. It's probably this is our last chance. And that's how we viewed. We kind of put our backs against the wall a little bit with it. And in one day, we sat down and plotted The Great Witch Artemis, which ended up becoming the first book we've ever put out into the world. And we sat and we wrote it in one day, or we plotted it in one day. It's not fair to say we wrote it in one day. We plotted it in one day. I had the whole story figured out in one day. And then we wrote it in about a week. And it was 78 pages. And that became the first thing we wrote that we were ever genuinely proud of. Sometimes we shit on it a little bit nowadays, but it's more just general, shitting on something we wrote when it was old. Or because it's old. But at the time, we were so proud of this. And do you want to show off some of the artwork from it, Scott?
Yeah, I'll show off some of the artwork from it.
So we wrote this, and this Scott drew it afterwards. He drew it in the summer. We'll get to that era, but he drew this very fast. I remember you drew this in like 2 months, didn't you? Like all 78 pages. It was something crazy like that.
Yep. I was drawing
so this
like
is some promo art you did.
A day. Yeah, I was drawing like 8 pages a day or something. This was on Kickstarter. The whole shit.
Yeah, we'll get more into the Kickstarter and what happened with this as we get further into the year, because I want to keep it kind of the timeline flowing. But yeah, so this is the promo art. The actual pages were done in they weren't colored. They were done in just like gray tones, right, Scott?
That's what it's called? I'm pulling up some of the artwork right now.
Somebody said Akko. We did really like what the fuck? Little Witch Academia.
Little Witch Academia.
We did. Scott and I also disliked witches. So we've always had a thing for like little girl witch characters. That's kind of what Umbru and Oliver were both about. We've always thought those characters would be very charming, especially because we grew up watching stuff like Kiki and everything. This is one of the best pages in the book.
Yeah, it there was some cool stuff in there. Like, it was finally getting to the point where like I was making stuff that I didn't absolutely hate, which was obviously a fun thing for an artist to get there. But it was finally like Bryce said, this was just where we sat down and we were like, can we actually do this? Like, it was one of those things, like we thought we wanted to do it, but it was, we had to prove it to ourselves. In a way, it's like, what's the point of doing this? We're not having fun. We're not getting any. We're not making books even. So this whole book just came about as like a way to prove it to ourselves that we actually wanted to do this. Like, we wanted this to be a job. And so this like 78-page book came out of it.
And we thought after we wrote it that everything was gonna change. That we wrote it, and then immediately we were gonna start pumping books out. I remember you and I having a conversation right after Artemis, like, bro, now that we wrote this one book, we're golden. We're gonna get a book out next month and the month after. It didn't work that way because
No.
we had a lot of problems still that we had to get through. Just because we wrote one book, we didn't find the golden ticket for mentality and stuff like that. We would not end up writing another book for about 4 months. And so we wrote that in January, and then we wrote our next book, Perishable Kingdom. And mind you, up to this point, we'd been working for 2 whole years, basically 3 whole years, and we had written 2 books, actually written 2 books, Umbru and Artemis. Everything else had failed, not even had pages drawn for it for the most part. And so we wrote Artemis. It was the second one. It was the first time we wrote a book we were proud of and happy about. Like, we wanted to actually pursue publishing this. We were really happy with it. It made us feel very good. And then we struggled for about 3-4 months. And then in May, I think it was, of 2018, we had another back against the wall talk. I remember it. It was like...
Now, hold on. Was this before Artemis got picked up?
No, you're right. This was after. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so the company that I was doing work on AP for, like my first comic commission, because it was a running series that I was doing some issues for here and there, we sort of became friends with the owner, and we showed them Artemis when we finished them. We were working on the artwork stuff, and they wanted to publish it. Like, their company hadn't started creating or taking creator-owned submissions yet. But they were planning on it, and they were like, well, obviously you're like associated with the brand, and I think this is really cool. So Artemis at that point was actually technically published by a really, really small indie publisher who wanted to kickstart it. And like Bryce said, we finished drawing that book in maybe like June or something is when I finished it, maybe earlier, probably earlier than that even. And it didn't end up going on Kickstarter, just to skip ahead a little bit. It didn't end up actually going on Kickstarter until the next year, like January or March, actually, of 2019.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. But yeah, so basically what happened, that company is going to get more and more relevant as the story goes on. But for right now, the only thing that's really happening with that is that they've decided to publish Artemis, and Scott is continuing to draw that series for them through multiple issues. So then, like I said, we had another back against the wall kind of talk. It hit May, and I remember it was 2 a.m., and we were playing a video game. I don't remember what game. And we just started talking. Like, we were just bitching to each other about how everything just fell back to normal. Like, everything went... Like, we wrote that book, and it didn't save our careers. It didn't make us want to keep doing it. It's like we were really jazzed up and loved it, but then we immediately fell back into struggling and books not working and mental struggles and that kind of stuff. And so we had another talk with ourselves, and we were basically, this talk was like, we need to just start writing books, and we just need to just man up, basically. We need to get mature. That was the big, we just need to just be more mature. At this point, we had decided we wanted to do this. Like, we wrote Artemis, and we loved that high, and we were like, this is not acceptable. Like, the fact that we wrote Artemis, and then we kept struggling. We need to figure this out, because if we don't, in a year, we'll run into the same problem and we will quit. And we've decided at this point that we don't want to. And so then we wrote Perishable Kingdoms, which I'm not going to talk about too much because I want to go. I want to go back to that book. We wrote a book that we really like called Perishable Kingdoms. It didn't
Grade A title.
It didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, but that was kind of a big deal. It was the first time something didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, but we were okay with it. We were like, we can always come back to this. We really like this idea. We still put our work into it. We still really appreciate the work we did. We still wrote a book. We're proud of this, and we moved on. We didn't draw. We didn't do anything. We just moved on. And then it took about a month. We finished that like end of June, I think, and then July, end of June, early July, we started working on the Panty Bear. So where Lucia came from. And the Panty Bear was the first time we wrote something where it was just like a fucking blast. There was no stress. There was no fear. There was no nothing. It was what hit us with like we have to do comic. Like, even more so than like the Artemis or like Panty Bear is what fucking slammed us with wanting to do it. We wrote the Panty Bear. Maybe it was a 225 page book when I first finished it, around there. I mean, I maybe wrote that book in like 2 weeks. Like, it was really fast. It took about a month of total work to do all the plotting and writing, I would say, right? Now, there have been like, before you guys read, there were rewrites and stuff like that, but I'm talking the specific initial final draft.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too, like it was really we've never had a process quite like that, because I literally remember you writing that script and then getting like 3/4 of the way through, and then us being like, oh no, let's just rewrite the section. And like we got on PlayStation and just sat there and worked out how to completely redo a whole section of the book, like a major section, and like in one night, and we figured it out. And like we had never done anything like that at that point.
Before, we would have given up.
Been like, oh, the story doesn't work. But like, no, we like, okay, we can fix this section.
Because the difference is, I guess the best way to describe, this was the first time we were liking what we were writing. Before, it was always when we'd hit a hurdle, we would try and rewrite the book and end up making the book into a different book. We never liked what we were writing. It always had to be something different. It's that immaturity I was talking about. We were very erratic. We were impulsive. We kept wanting to change stories and do this and do that. The Panty Bear was the first time where it was like, no, we have to stick with this. We have to fix this. And so we wrote the Panty Bear, and we then, at that point, Scott's finished Artemis. He's finished drawing Artemis. And so he starts to draw... did you start working on the Panty Bear immediately? I don't think you did.
I didn't start working on the Panty Bear. We finished writing it in like May or June or something.
It was July. I know it was July.
In July. And are you sure?
Yeah, it was June and July is when we worked on that, because August is when I wrote CC, which we'll get to.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I don't think I started drawing it. I started drawing it in September, I think.
Yeah, and then so...
Or maybe December. I don't remember. I didn't start drawing it for a while.
Yeah, no, you didn't start drawing for a while because you started drawing the next thing, which was... We started working on a book called CC next. And we've talked about CC once or twice, and CC will get brought up way later in a way more bigger way. But CC was the first book that we ever wrote. CC the Forest Demon is what it was called at the time. CC the Forest Critter. Is what it's called now. It was the first thing we wrote that gave us that Infinity feeling again. Like, that feeling of, like, this is really fucking good. Like, this isn't good like, oh, we wrote a book, we like it. And we really like the Panty Bear, too. But we went into the Panty Bear writing it as it's a dumb, fun action comic. That's what it is. That's what it ended up being. We knew it wasn't a masterpiece. That was never our goal. And I'm not saying, like, CC, I'm not saying we've ever written a masterpiece. But it was the first time where we were like, if we show this to people, we think they'll really fucking like it. Like, and so CC hit us really hard. And same thing, we wrote it in like a month. And CC, when we first wrote it, was very, very long. I'm not going to say how long it was, but it was a lot longer than it ended up being through revisions. But it was the first time that it was just, we were so unbelievably proud. The first time since Infinity and Co. that we dove into submissions immediately. Like, I remember we finished the book, and Scott immediately started drawing sample pages, and we actually have those pages still, if you want to pull them up, Scott. Yes. That's a PDF, I think, as well. But yeah, we drew, and we submitted, did we submit CC to play? I don't remember if we actually submitted it, but we drew.
Yeah, we did to a few places.
But it was it was like almost an entirely different book at this time. But yeah, Scott drew it, and like I said, so at this point, we've written 4 books this year. After having, before this, only ever written 1. And yeah, so here are the original CC pages. So this is like August to September of 2018. Oh, fucking Fire God. I forgot he was... I forgot he was just Calcifer when you first drew him.
It's true. Look, it was 2018. I was still young.
That is true. The funniest part is I don't think any of this is in the actual book anymore.
It's not.
I think literally every single line of dialogue from this is gone.
Yeah. Pretty sure it is.
What a bunch of machines you two are, Auto Draft. Thank you. The homie, the goat, Auto.
Hey, Auto.
So we gave up, or so not gave up. So we wrote CC. Like I said, and we were so at this point, we were on the opposite end of the spectrum of where we were in 2017. We were like flying fucking high. We were so happy and so proud and so over the moon. I do want to point this out. We sent that to one publisher, that exact script, and somebody called Scott's art amateurish and said he needs to get better. I will never forget that. I couldn't believe. I still have not recovered from that. Fuck that guy. Yeah. So then, through the end of the year, a weird thing happened where the confidence of CC became a bad thing. Because it put us back in the same problem we were having at the start of the year and before, where we had written before, the books we were writing were never good enough, and then we started writing stuff and we got really happy. After CC, the books were never good enough again because they weren't as good as CC. And that was kind of always a problem. Throughout the end of that year, is we started working on numerous stories that just didn't work. Just the simplest way to put it. Just they didn't work. They were better than the stories we were writing before. Like they for the quality of the standard at the time, they were good. But we were stuck in this perfectionist mentality that came from CC. Whereas like if it's not as good as CC, what's the point of writing it? And that's a mentality that really started to destroy us again. And then I don't think there's anything left in 2018 except for the big personal thing that I was going to ask if you wanted to go into that happened during CC.
Yeah, around the time, I don't know if we had started CC yet or not, but around the time, if we did, it was very early on. I don't know if we had or not, but I don't know if you'd remember that either. I feel like we probably hadn't. But the girl I was with at the time, again, this is 2018, so it's a long time ago. I had been with for nearly 6 years because we got together when we were freshmen in high school.
Also, real quick, Forklift Boy, don't say your name in chat because we're not name dropping. I just don't. I know you. I just don't want to risk you name dropping.
Yeah. So yeah, we were together for a long time, and we broke up around that time. And that was really hard on me. I had never gone through anything like that before because, like I said, we were together all throughout high school. So I never had anything to compare that to. And so it was a really hard time for me for several months. I mean, I would say about 6 months after that, I was just like really depressed. But immediately after, and actually I'll say this was a really important time for me as an artist as well, because it was, you know, if people know me, like generally what they know is like that I do, like, you know, the kind of art that I do, but also that I draw a lot, just like all the time, and I have really large stamina reserves in terms of drawing, and this is kind of what caused that, because when the breakup happened, in order to deal with it just like emotionally, I kind of just ignored it for a while, and I just started drawing like all the goddamn time. I mean, I was drawing. I would wake up at like 8 or 9 in the morning, and maybe a little bit later because my sleeping schedule was very inconsistent at that time. But I'd wake up really early, and I would literally draw until I went to sleep.
You weren't even talking to me as much during this time.
Yeah, I didn't talk to Bryce very much. I'd wake up, I would draw, I'd go to sleep. I'd wake up, I would draw, I'd go to sleep. And that sort of was just like a coping mechanism for me that eventually it turned into a benefit now that I'm kind of a monster and I can just keep drawing and I don't really get tired. And it's because I did that for so long. That was also the period of time that caused me to have the nerve damage in my finger. So I wouldn't, you know, it came at a cost. But that was how I dealt with it at the time. Yeah, it came at a cost, and it was like I said, just a really bad time for me. Like I really don't remember much of it, much of like plotting and writing CC or directly afterwards, just because I was like gone mentally. I was really devastated, and yeah, I mean, now I'm fine, obviously, and I got the benefit of I can draw all the time, but it was hard because then we wrote Cece, and Cece was a story that had some romantic storylines in it, and it was like a really weird thing for me to be going through that and then us work on that. But it was part of, I think, what helped it, because like I said, I was just able to pour as many, both of us were, we were just able to pour as many hours into it as we needed to. I mean, we worked on that story for like 2 or 3 months. We spent working on it, and just like all day, every day, we were just going so fucking hard on this story.
Yeah, it was one of those stories that was a perfect storm of things going wrong and our work ethic and us riding a high to just create like this mess in a good way, like not mess of a story, but like mess of like energy. Like I don't know, we were just like constantly we were both, and also I'll talk about this too. I was doing better with my mental health stuff, but I was going through a lot of stuff at the time because at the time me and my fiance did not live together. We had not been together for a year yet. During that summer when we were writing Cece. But there was a lot of tensions between me and her family because her family does not like me very much, or didn't at the time at least. I don't know what they do now, to be honest. Because I was a writer boy, and I'm not gonna go into too many details, but church family, and they just did not like writer boy. And so that eventually culminated in me getting her kicked out, and her having to come live with me in my room. And her and I, for the past 3 years, have lived in one room together at my parents' house, and we're just now about to move out. So it was very stressful at the time because I was getting her kicked out. And obviously that was stressful.
Not intentionally.
Not intentionally. As she actually made the decision. Like they were like, we're gonna kick you out if you do this, and she was like, okay. And then she just moved. She was like, she moved in here, and thankfully my parents were really cool with it. Again, this goes back to my parents being really cool. My parents were so cool with it. They drove her to college every day after she got kicked out. And like they I don't know, they were really cool about the whole situation. And so that put a lot of stress on me. And like I said, Scott, it was also one of those things of like I couldn't relay that or talk to that with Scott because he was going through his breakup, and it was the weird time where we were both a little bit separate while we were writing the story, and it felt like the only time we were together was when we were making the story. We weren't really hanging out as much because of all the personal life shit we were going through. And then, like I said, after CC and through the end of the year, there was just total fall apart. Like I said, a total regression, I guess would be the best way to call it. And that bridges us into 2019, where we have the Artemis Kickstarter. Right? That's the first big event of 2019. Yes. In March, we have the Artemis Kickstarter, and it ends up being successful. It ends up raising $3,000, I think, on Kickstarter. Yeah. With like
3,400.
3,400, yeah. And it ended up being successful. So that was the first book Scott and I had ever put out to the world. Really the first long-form thing of any kind. We had never even put out anything above 20 chapters. The only things we had put out had been... thank you for the 100 bits. Just peeking out of lurk mode.
Thank you for the 100 bits. Hold on real quick. I gotta go answer the door.
Okay, you're fine. I'm gonna read this while he's gone. Hey guys, just peeking out of lurk mode, asking if this will be a VOD. I'm currently at work, and I'd love to hear about your humps and hurdles. Yes, this will be a VOD. Our VODs will be available for 60 days. You can thank Aega for that, because Aega taught us how to make VODs available for 60 days. While Scott's gone, I'll continue going. So we in early 2019, we had the Kickstarter for Artemis, and like I said, that went well, and that was the first long form thing or anything we had put out. And so that was when, with that company we keep mentioning, we wanted to start. I just continued while you were gone. The person just asked if it was going to be a VOD. I told him yeah.
I see.
They said they were enjoying the stream. Thank you.
Thank you.
But that was when we decided we wanted to start being more ingrained in that company we were working with, because we wanted to kind of be company guys. We had been there. Scott had worked on the person's specific comics for a long time. We were their first creator-owned comic, and we were being told by them that they were open. And also, they... Oh, excuse me. That was the worst burp I've ever had mid-sentence.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
I can't believe that.
They actually... You went out to see them. You actually went and hung out with them in person. I don't know if you want to say
Yes, I
where.
went to a comic book
Yeah.
convention with them.
Yeah, and so like we were actively friends with them and wanted to get more ingrained in the company. Like I said, we felt like we were a big part of it. And so they told us they were opening creator owned. If you don't know, creator owned submissions are basically what you think of when you think of people submitting their works. Right? If something's creator owned, that means you are submitting your comic book, but you are keeping the rights to it. Basically, it's your book. Um, it's creator owned. I don't know how to describe it, but it's what you think of. It's not. It's different. Not creator owned would be like if you're writing Spider-Man for Marvel. Creator owned would be like if Scott and I getting Artemis published. That was creator owned. Um, uh, but we knew they were opening creator owned submissions. They were just gonna let anybody start submitting to their company, and so I decided to join on as an editor. Because I was, again, at this point I am still making $0. I am literally not making $1 off of my work. At most I had made about $50 from writing scripts for some dude on Reddit. Um, and so at this point, the only thing I'd also joined the Ramu Games team, or sorry, the One Look Games team. At that point in time, and there was the Nil Space Kickstarter and stuff like that. I won't go into that too much because that's a separate my own thing. But I joined that, and I was working on that around this time too. And so, but everything I was doing, I wasn't working anywhere for money. The places I was working with, I was just working for fun or because I felt passionate about the project rather than it being something I was being paid for. And so, me getting them, they were willing to pay me for being an editor. Uh, they're willing to pay me for being an editor. And so I hopped on that, and they also at the time, you joined as admin at the same time, Scott. So you joined. If you want to talk more about that.
Yeah, I joined as an administrator in the company. I was actually the art director. I had the title. I owned part of the company. Um, and like Bryce said, we wanted to be company guys. Like we wanted to be like actually like help them. We knew they weren't perfect, but we thought maybe we can help shape them in the right direction and be very committed. Like we're like, oh yeah, this will be like the place when we write a book, it's going to go through this company. And we had very high hopes. Is the important part.
Yeah. And they also, so at this point we're 2019 is a weird year because a lot of it's dominated by this company. But early 2019, we did end up writing another book called I'd Like to Be Normal, Please. This is similar to Umbrew, where we weren't happy with it. We wrote it and we weren't really happy with it. And then we started working on a book. I'm just gonna call it Kingdom. I don't want to say the full title, Scott.
Yep.
Just we're gonna call it Kingdom. That ended up taking up basically the rest of the year, and it never ended up being finished. It is something we want to finish at some point. But that story encapsulated all of our worst flaws. That story at the time, in terms of it was just bloated and a mess and rewritten hundreds of times and yada yada yada. And at this point, we were focusing almost less on our creative stuff and more on the company, I would say, Scott.
Probably, yeah.
Because like I said, Scott was an admin and I was an editor, and we had asked them to publish CC. And so this is where they took on CC and they were going to publish CC. We went through all this stuff. This is how we met Shadia. We went out. The reason because if you don't know, Shadia is the person drawing CC. And the reason she's drawing is because at the time Scott couldn't draw CC because he was busy drawing other stuff. And you were starting to work on the Panty Bear at that time.
Yes.
So we knew you wouldn't have time to draw it, and so we reached out to a bunch of artists, and the one we liked the most, and the one that was most passionate about it was Shadia. We'll talk more about that later, but nothing really happened with CC and AC in the company. Nothing really happened with CC in this company. Nothing really went anywhere with it. It just kind of we said we were gonna do it, and then nothing moved forward. We didn't really move anything forward.
Through no fault of our own. Actually, I'll get into it a little bit because it's important as to what happens later. this person that was the boss of the company, they had an issue getting things done, to the point where they were supposed to edit this CC script, which is like 200, 300 pages, like somewhere in that area. And which, I mean, that's long. It might take you like a while to do
If
it.
you are an editor or somebody tied to a project being paid to do something, I would expect that to take you a month, maybe two at most to edit. That's what
Yeah,
I
I
feel like.
think it wound up taking them 9 months, 10 months.
That entire
Um,
time, we're just sitting there, not able to do anything with the book, not able to draw the book, not able to knowing we still have to edit the book, literally just sitting on our hands and knees. Shadia wondering what the hell's going on, like
yeah, and there's nothing we can do.
us having to keep make excuses for other people. And now the biggest thing with all this stuff we're talking, we're not trying to shit on anybody or trying to say anything like that. Scott and I work a very specific way, and from listening to this and from listening to us talk so much, I'm sure we get shit done. We work a lot. We work really hard. We try and work really fast. We do not. When I was actively editing stuff, if I got sent a script, I got sent a 100-page script I had to edit, and I had it edited in 3 days. It's just that's how Scott and I are. And so this was especially frustrating to us. I don't know how you want to bridge into talking about all of the stuff going weird. I will say I flew out and actually went to New York with the like same thing. Scott flew out with them. I flew out and went to a con in a different city somewhere with them. And that was a really fun time, but that was the last fun time, I feel like, with the company. That was when things started to, at this point, I had taken on about 3 or 4 jobs. Actually 4, like, editing jobs. One of them being, we haven't really talked about it all, but Afterside. Um, because Afterside is part of this whole ordeal. We
Yeah,
also never
I
talked
would
about
say,
you starting up Afterside. You started up Afterside in 2018, right? That's when you drew the initial one.
yeah, around this whole time I had been doing a lot of just commissioned comic work. So like somebody would contact me. I had a few people that I worked with a lot. Like I have a good friend Ryan who I still do some work with sometimes. Julian who I still work with Aftersight on. I had a lot of people that I would work with, and just they'd say, hey, here's the script, draw it. Well, I'll pay you this much, and I said great. That's what I was doing at the time, and Afterside was one of those. And because I was working on it, this company, like they did with CC, offered to publish it, um, which it's a web comic, and it is just a very I won't get into the details because it's not our property. Um, it's just a very weird situation with that. That was another thing. But by the time you went to New York, things had really already soured for me. Because when like I said, I was part shareholder in the company. I was the art director. Um, and like Bryce said, we like to get things done, and other people don't sometimes, and certain people, and it was just a very frustrating experience for me. I've never in my whole many years working professionally in comics, I've never encountered a group of people I disliked working with more. I'm willing to go that far.
I
That
think
it
the
was,
biggest problem is that they treated us like we were the unprofessional ones a lot of the times. Like we were kind
yeah,
of always villainized by them. It was always like, well, you two are being hard asses. Well, you two are doing this. Well, you. I think that's what was the most upsetting thing, because these were our friends. Let me say that. Like these were expressly people we were friends with. It's not like was a random company. These were people we were friends with and legitimately
yeah.
really liked.
So like I said, it's in my many years working in comics, I hadn't ever experienced uh just a system that was so broken, so unprofessional. Um, and it eventually culminated in me leaving and quitting the thing as art director and giving up my shares of the company, just because it was such a poor fit for me that like I couldn't stand it any longer. It was really bad just for my mental health to be around these people.
Yeah, and so Scott ended up leaving as admin, and that was, I think, around the time I went to New York, maybe a little bit after. And then Um, Funny enough, I ended up becoming an admin with the company. They ended
True, a
up,
bit later.
yeah, about a month or so later, they ended up approaching me and asking me if I wanted to be the head editor. Which I won't talk about stuff too specifically, but I do want to talk about what started to fall off for me, which was, and what started a lot of Scott's fall off too. I feel like is I'm trying to think of how to word this. I'm really trying hard not to say too many specific details. When I got my editing contract initially, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was under the pretense that it was because I didn't have experience at all as an editor, and so I had to prove myself. And I was like, I get that. And they told me in 6 months we can talk about it again. And I was like, okay, so I proved myself, and then in 6 months I can actually get like a real contract and actually make a little bit of money off of this. 6
Never
months.
go for that, by the way.
Yeah, never do this. Never want. Listen, when like talking about also when Scott worked for $25 a page and stuff like that. If people, even your friends, if they can take advantage of you or get good work out of you for less money, they are going to do it. Always charge what your fair rate is. Always charge what you believe your artwork is. Try not to undersell. I'm talking about like commission and stuff. We talked about that last week. That might be a different story. But when it comes to actually entering contracts, doing long form work, working on a book for years, a year, working on a contract for years, do not do that. Only do it if it's worth it. Really think about your time, because I made this mistake and it's really cost me a lot of mental stress. But anyway, they, like I said, it wasn't a lot of money. I won't talk about how much it is, but it wasn't a lot. It really was. It was like nothing. But it basically then like 6 months came and they came
Probably
to me.
even less than you guys are thinking.
It's really not for the amount of work I had to do, especially because let me tell you what my job as an editor is. It is that I edit the scripts, and I didn't notice at the time. I also like helped. I was just like on the project as like a sort of like a manager, quote unquote, for a long time. But again, I don't talk too much about that. I'll talk about why I don't want to talk too much about that.
Say also the part of the catalyst for me quitting was actually how upset I was, because I was still an admin at this time that he was going through this. He got trapped in this contract, and I was like, I was like, we got like, this is so fucked up that you guys are taking advantage of a friend like this, and they just weren't having it. That was one of the very last arguments that I had with these people before I quit, and I was like, okay, I can't be a part of this. This is morally wrong.
And here's like the thing, right? So they came to me about a month early and they said, "Hey, your contract's about to be up. Let's talk about it." And I'll talk about what I sent them in response. So I was originally paid a flat rate. I was paid basically like, if the book is this many pages, you get this many dollars, kind of thing. I won't talk about it, but I said, okay, I want to be paid per page rate, and they offered me a certain page rate, and it was really low. It was not a lot of, it wasn't really low, but it was definitely lower than I expected. And I offered back literally $1 more. And $1 more, and
You offered like $2 more a page.
Was it $2? Okay, $2.
Yeah,
more.
because the thinking was, okay, you offer back 2, and then they'll meet you in the middle at 1 more.
And
per
instead
page.
of negotiating with me, I basically got told that until I prove myself in years, I'm not worth anything. And the exact verbiage they used is, it's like you're playing a video game and you just got the long sword, but you're just not a high enough level to wield it yet. And that was about the most insulting thing anyone had ever said to me. And that really struck a chord with me emotionally. Also, I'll be honest, confidence-wise too, I've never been, up until recently, I've not been a really confident person. It really fucked with my confidence being told that. And I'm also, at this point, again, I like to say, I'm literally making no money. And I'm busting my ass. I was busting my ass for this company. And then they also, like, again, I like to point out, the reason I brought all that up is because they asked me to be the head editor about 2 months later. So I couldn't wield the long sword, but I could be the head editor in the fucking company. Really pissed me off. I did eventually get a contract that I was happy with, but it still wasn't a lot or a good contract.
I will say that I don't think I was admin at the time anymore, but when this happened and Bryce told me about it, it sent me into a frenzy. I
That might be the maddest I've ever seen, Scott. Legitimately.
I tore into so many people about this. I mean, I screamed till my vocal cords could no longer scream. It was not a good time.
Yeah, and so at this point, like I said, this is end of 2019, and I don't know if you have anything specific else you want to talk about before I get into the end of our time with that company, Scott. Like any sort of incidents. I don't really have any off top.
No, I won't go into specific incidences. Like I said, it was just a lot of just very unprofessional people thinking that they were very professional. I mean, like for a long time, I was like self-conscious. I was
We
like,
thought
maybe
we were
it's
assholes. We
yeah.
really
I was like,
genuinely.
maybe it's me. Like maybe I don't get along with these people. Maybe I'm the problem. But at some point, I realized that I had just worked for so long in the industry and with so many different people, and I literally never had a problem with anybody. Like I got along super well with everybody that I worked with, and I was like, you know what? That probably means it's them. And I finally became okay accepting that.
And then we basically we decided to start the beginning of the end of our time with the company, which was we formally decided to pull CC from the company. This is very early 2019 or 2020. I'm sorry, like probably beginning of the year almost, right? Maybe.
Yeah, it was definitely early in the year.
It was early in the year, definitely. And so we pulled the book from we paid for the stuff that had been drawn. We paid out. We did what we needed to do. And we amicably split, and Shadia and Scott and I left and started working on CC and working on stuff for CC on our own. And basically that was the last time Scott ever talked with those people in any kind of serious way. I still have contact with them. I actually still do work with them, but the only reason I do is because I still edit Afterside, and Julian's a great friend of ours, and I'm not gonna blah blah. And also I signed on for one project, and I was paid for it, and I was done everything, and I'm gonna work for what I was paid for, even if I don't think I was paid well, and I'm not happy working with the situation because I basically am done my work at this point. But I'm not accepting any. We are basically fully out and away from the situation, and I think everyone's happier for it. I think they're probably happier for it too, to be honest. I don't think any of us mixed very well. I think it was definitely a case of business hurting friendship. And so I think that's the last we need to say on them, really. We can get back to talking about comic stuff. So picking up, this is 2020 at this point, and we're still, like I said, they and the company sort of dominated the entirety of that year, and we really didn't write any comics except for the I'd Like to Do Normal Please, which we wrote at the beginning of the year, and like I said, we weren't happy with. So coming to 2020, at this point, we're back at basically the lowest of our low. We're feeling really shitty, but we're excited at the prospect of being away and being back into working on comics. And so we worked on a story called Princess and the Peasant, and again, it was the same thing that's happened where we just weren't happy with it. We weren't happy. We didn't like it. We didn't do anything with it. But that started, I feel like, when we did start getting happy with our work. And you showed some Princess and the Peasant designs a while back. We showed those designs off a few weeks ago.
Where was the Daimo's Daughter era?
That's what we're getting to now.
Okay.
So we wrote Princess and the Peasant. We didn't like it, and then we started watching a lot of movies. Around this time, you met your current girlfriend, Scott.
Yes.
And that helped get you into a lot better mental space. At this point, I was in a lot better mental space. We're both moving away from having to work with the company every day. Things are a lot easier on that front. We're both getting mentally better. And we decided, we were watching a lot of movies and stuff like that, and we started working on books, and they weren't working, but it was the first time since CC that even though they weren't working, we were still having fun making comics again. And we were having, I think, almost a little bit too much fun because a weird thing happened where we got off sync. And I remember this we were not on sync with each other at all. And that hadn't happened since the Sakatsu argument that we talked about, where we didn't want the character to have the arm. And so our way of countering that is that we both took a base idea. We took a story. We were working on this story called The Daimo's Daughter at that point in time. And it wasn't working, but we were having a lot of fun with it. And so we pulled back, and we both decided to work on the story on our own. So he would write his version, and I would write my version, and we would see what came of it. And it went really well, I would say, in terms of we were both really happy, and it got us really back on track. And more than anything, I feel like it taught us both what our strengths and weaknesses are. Like, for the first time, it showed me like what your biggest strengths in storytelling were, and it showed me what my biggest strengths in storytelling are. And that's what started the maturity run, I would say, where we just started getting more mature, I guess is the best way to put it. And the things that used to get us down about comics and used to hinder our comic process, we just started working through. And really in 2020, oh fuck, we forgot. End of 2019, we started posting the Panty Bear online. And the Panty Bear bombed when we first posted it online. Nobody cared about the Panty Bear. Nobody cared about Lucia. Nobody cared about anything. And we got a shout out from Courtship, which is really cool because we were going to stop posting the Panty Bear, and then that gave us like 1,000 readers, 2,000 maybe. And so we kept going, but the problem is we ran out of pages because we didn't. It was a webcomic, and we didn't have enough.
No backlog.
Yeah, we didn't have enough backlog because we thought we were going to stop it. And so we went on hiatus, and this hiatus is when we bought CC away from the company. It's when we did the Daimo's Daughter thing, everything like that. It's when we started getting everything back on track, I feel like. And I remember a distinct conversation, bye Kage. I remember a distinct conversation where we basically were like, listen, we're coming back from the Panty Bear. Let's go really hard. Let's start a Patreon. Let's build a website. Let's, start a Discord. Let's do it. Let's genuinely start trying to do this. Let's stop. We've gotten to the point where we know how to write a book. We know how to make a book we're happy with. We know how to do these things. Let's start, it's the maturity thing. Let's start actually doing it. Let's stop stressing about it, worrying about it. We finally got rid of the big negative energy that was kind of a constant. And let's just start doing it. And so, I built a website from scratch despite not knowing how to do it. We built a Discord. We did all the research for the Patreon. Scott drew a fuck ton of pages for the Panty Bears to make sure we'd have a huge backlog. And then, while we were doing the Daimo's Daughter split, we launched everything. We launched the website. We came back with the Panty Bear. We launched the Discord. We launched the Twitter. And not the Twitter, I'm sorry. No, never mind. I just lost your thought. But the Discord, I feel like, was maybe the biggest thing in terms of keeping us on track, because the Discord was the first time we were able to have people who read our work directly talking to us constantly. So people that were fans of the Panty Bear, because for about the first 6 months of the Discord, it was just like 200 people. It was literally like, it got up like only that big. Like, it was like 20 people, 30 people, 40 people. It was big enough that we knew every single member by name at that time. And getting to talk with people and genuinely hear people talk about our work and talk about us, and it really motivated us, I feel like, to figure out, I'm losing my voice, I've been talking too much. It really motivated us to figure out what our problems were and to push through them. And I don't think we do the Daimo's Daughter thing. I don't think we're mature enough to do that split if we didn't have that bit of confidence from the people in the Discord at the time. And basically through the end of the year, we wrote Daimo's Daughter, and we were happy with the situation. And then everything happened with the Twitter. That's the big note at the end of the year, right?
Yeah, I went from 1,000 to 5,000 followers from like October to November, and then from November to December I went to about 20,000, and then I was at like 50,000 in January, and it just kept growing from there.
And so up to this point, I had still only ever made the money I had made from that company, which was it was about enough to pay 2 months of rent, maybe a month of rent. So I was still basically making nothing, and I that money had came and went. It came and I had spent it. It was gone. I actually used a lot of that money to help with when we were getting CC pages drawn after we pulled CC. So then 2021 started, and coming to 2021, all of a sudden we had started to make a living off the Patreon. So the Patreon existed since June of 2020, and we were making like $80 off of it, which was, we were happy we were making anything off of it. But come January was when we both started making about $1,000 off of it. Right, that was when we both started making like money off of it.
Yeah.
And obviously as the year went on, it got to the point where we were earning a livable wage, and then, things got more comfortable, and it kept growing in a way to where it took away the stress that we had of money, and it allowed us to just focus on comics and just focus on what we wanted to do. And last year ended up being our most productive year ever because of that. We wrote a book at the beginning of the year that we really loved called Witch of Wolfpine. Scott jokes about it sometimes, but we do really love it. We just have to do some revising on it. And we also, the biggest thing that's not about Patreon or about Twitter from last year is Shadia introduced us to her agent, Jenna Zantian, who ended up loving CC and wanting to represent CC. And so a lot of last year wasn't spent or a lot of last year was spent working on our pitch for CC the Forest Critter and doing all of the work for that. And finally actually having like a professional that really is supportive. And that's the biggest thing about her, is that she's very supportive and she's very kind to us. It's very great energy to have. Both her and Shadia are probably two of the most important things that have happened in our career, especially from a mentality standpoint. And yeah, and then that kind of brings us to where we are today, where we started working on a book called Kindred Heavens the last year, and a lot more of those problems started to pop up. That the problems we had struggled with, the length problems, the bloated problems, the immaturity problems, and we fought through every single one of them. I feel like this story was the story that broke all of those old struggles that we had mentally. And as of literally just yesterday, we just finished the script for it. We'll finish the final. We still have to do work on the script, but we finished the big final pass of the script.
Yep.
And I feel like it's kind of the start of a new era. That's kind of what encouraged this stream, is that it feels like a lot of it because of you guys and because of the Patreon, the Discord, and the Twitter. We sometimes worry that we give off this energy that we've never struggled mentally, creatively, and that we've never gone through hardships, and that we haven't scrapped works and stuff. But the reason we wanted to do this, we kind of want to make it clear that this is really the first time in our lives where we've not had that these past few months. Being able to support ourselves off Patreon and being able to have all these people that really like our work and are really excited for our work. Really inspired us to, when we struggled with Kindred Heavens, to push through it, to learn how to not give up on a story, to learn how to revise a story, to learn how to do all these things, and to make work that we're really honestly, genuinely proud of, no matter how long or what it takes. And I don't know, a lot of it's just because, like I said, it's just because of you guys. It's taken a long road to get here, and we never want people to think that it's been an easy road for us. Not because we want to be like, oh, look how hard it was for us, but because we don't want other creators, especially young creators, to think that just because we're where we are at now seems like it's relatively easy. Like, it was relatively easy to get here, because it was a lot of work, and a lot of the same struggles we see people go through in our Discord is the stuff that we went through for years. And we were in the same vacuum where we didn't have people to talk to. We were just talking to each other, and we definitely know how hard it can be to make comics or to make art or to write or to do anything. And we never want people thinking that it's not hard, because it's still hard even for us today. Even just in December, we were having struggles with certain stories and certain things. But the difference is, that maturity from having gone through it so many times, having learned, that we're now able to actually just like persevere and get through it. And I guess sort of the message I want everyone to leave this stream with is that it always takes a lot of hard work, and it's always a bit of a struggle, but the more you do it, the better and easier it gets, because the more mentally mature towards creating you get, and the easier it gets to persevere through those hard times that used to be so hard in terms of creativity and actually just consistently making work. And obviously everyone's different, but for Scott and I, that's the one stream, or the one thing that we want to leave the stream with, is that sort of feeling of just if it's really hard right now, and if you're really struggling right now, just know that everything you're doing, every ounce of work you're putting in, is building to a time where it's not going to be so hard to create stuff. Because I wish someone would have told us that when we were younger. And just to keep creating and keep doing what you want to do, and never think that any creator is necessarily getting it easy or has gotten it easy, because Blaze Lumpkin just said it. Things take time. Scott and I worked for 7 years basically until anyone knew who we were, until anyone paid us a dime, really. Scott was earning money, but I was earning nothing, and it was not an easy 7 years. And a lot of people have to work a lot harder. The 7 years for us, we were very fortunate because we were able to stay at home and work and do this all day, every day. But a lot of people aren't. 99% of people aren't that fortunate, and so don't beat yourself up if it takes longer than some other person, or if it's harder than some other person, because everyone goes at their own pace, and it's so much of it is about life and about where you're at and what you're going through and about who you have with. I don't know if I'd be here right now if it wasn't for Scott, and I think it's the same thing, because so much of us being able to get through what we got through and being able to work when we worked is because of each other. It's why he doesn't really do any work right now except for work for us, and it's why I don't really do any work right now. I don't really write prose anymore, or write the only thing I do is some of the work I had beforehand, because so much of our work is sort of entwined in doing it together and being able to do it together, and that is an element that a lot of people don't have and that we're very cognizant of and we try and tell people about. So I don't know, that's the end of my that's all I got, I guess.
Yeah, all right. It's about time to wrap it up. I gotta go do a thing.
You want to find someone to raid?
I already found somebody.
Okay. Well,
thanks for coming, everybody. I hope you have a deeper understanding of who we are, where we came from, and I hope this helped somebody else. And be nice to who we're raiding. Go tell them hello, and let them know we sent you, and give them a follow if you like what they do.
Yeah, and I hope it was an enjoyable stream, and I hope that it was not just us rambling about ourselves the entire time. I hope everyone was able to take something away from it. Okay, everybody. Bye!
All right, bye.